Chapter 978. Elder Xiang often came over to chat and drink tea with Night Sorrow. Only a limited number of people knew about his identity. Only Night Sorrow, Tianbin, Chu Danxian, and Tang Yuan knew. They wouldn't tell anyone because it would make things very inconvenient for Elder Xiang. Only Chu Danxian and Tang Yuan didn't talk to Night Sorrow. They didn't have the face to come to Night Sorrow's place. Besides, they were also a bit afraid of Night Sorrow. Putting aside Tang Yuan, who was only at the 5th rank, Chu Danxian was a mid-level saint. The gap between her and Night Sorrow, who was a peak saint king, was too great. Yishan didn't walk around the West Radiance Peak, let alone the other peaks of the Heavenly Cauldron sect. He often went out to trade for materials. Regardless of whether he was refining pills or refining weapons, he had to deal with a portion of it to trade for materials and support his proficiency in refining weapons. After staying at the Tianding Gate for a year, Night Sorrow's refining skills had risen to the saint tier. In other words, as long as he had the materials, he could refine saint artifacts. However, refining spirit artifacts was still fine. Refining saint artifacts required very high-grade materials. The reason why Yi Shang's artifact forging skills had improved so quickly was mainly because his clone in the Heaven Sealing Grand Hall had also made some achievements in array formations. Forging weapons and defensive artifacts required array formations to increase their offensive and defensive power. Night Sorrow had accumulated a lot of refining materials in the 9 regions world. He would use them to refine tools and then trade them for other materials. This way, he could earn some profit and maintain his proficiency in refining tools. On this day, Elder Xiang brought the Tianding Gate's Merit Hall's Elder Wang to Night Sorrow's place. Elder Wang, Night Sorrow can refine mid-level and high-grade saint artifacts. If the sect needs them, you can bring the materials to Night Sorrow to refine them. Night Sorrow, you won't charge a fee, right? Elder Xiang asked Night Sorrow. Naturally. Night Sorrow knew that Elder Xiang was giving him a chance to improve his proficiency in refining tools. Then I'll have to trouble you, Master Knight. Elder Wang cupped his hands towards Night Sorrow. There were not many people in the Tianding Gate who could refine sacred artifacts. Most of the time, they were still cultivating. It was still very difficult for many disciples to obtain sacred artifacts. Elder Wang, please don't say that. Night Sorrow is a disciple of the Tianding Gate. Being able to do something for the Tianding Gate is more than welcome. Besides, this is also helpful to me. Night Sorrow said with a smile. Night Sorrow, you don't have any status in the sect. Let me think about it. Elder Xiang said after thinking for a while. Elder Xiang, you know that there are some things I don't care about, Night Sorrow said. I know you don't care. Well, I'll think about it. You don't have to worry about it, Elder Xiang said. He understood Night Sorrow's indifferent attitude, but he still needed the respect of others. If a peak Saint King didn't obtain respect, then the world would be in chaos, and it would be the fall of the rules. On this day, Night Sorrow was guiding the disciples of the West Radiance Peak in pill refinement when Elder Tianbin arrived at his small courtyard. Elder Tian is here. Sit, I'll watch him finish refining this cauldron of medicinal pills. Night Sorrow nodded to Tianbin. Tianbin cupped his hands towards Night Sorrow before sitting down and waiting. He really admired Night Sorrow. Even if someone was asking for guidance on the refinement of low-grade medicinal pills, Night Sorrow would still guide seriously, and it could be said that he was meticulous. Thank you, Master Knight. After this disciple finished refining the medicinal pills, he bowed to Night Sorrow, and then he left behind a jar of good wine before leaving Night Sorrow's small courtyard. The disciples of the Tianding Gate all knew that Night Sorrow guided others, and even helped others refine medicinal pills and weapons for free. So they felt apologetic and would bring some good wine and tea when they came. Elder Tian, tea or wine? Night Sorrow looked at Tianbin and asked. Haha, wine is fine, Tianbin said with a smile. Night Sorrow took out 2 wine bowls and opened the wine jar left behind by that disciple. And then he poured a bowl for everyone. Every time I come here, I'm always drinking wine. I'm really ashamed, Tianbin said with slight embarrassment. Then bring 2 jars of good wine next time, Night Sorrow said. He was very casual with whoever he chatted with now. Look at the original version. Chapter 1 I came here this time because I have something to tell Master Knight. The sect master has come out of seclusion, And there's going to be a meeting of elders and protectors tomorrow. Master Knight wants to participate as well. This is Elder Xiang's idea, Tianbin said. Tianbin said. He knew that with Yi Shang, the sect leader's words were not necessarily effective. However, Yi Shang would definitely respect Elder Xiang's words. Elder Xiang said that Night Sorrow will definitely be there on time. Night Sorrow nodded. It's probably nothing much. Elder Xiang probably wants you to get to know the sect master and the various elders, Tianbin said. After chatting with Night Sorrow for a while, Tianbin left. Night Sorrow thought for a while and felt that it would be good to get to know him. After all, he was a disciple of the Tianding Gate and had to live in the Tianding Gate for a long time. After resting for a night, Night Sorrow changed into a loose moon-white robe. Just as he was about to go out, Chu Danxian came to the small courtyard. Today is a meeting of the sect's higher-ups. I'm here to invite Master Knight, Chu Danxian said. The word master behind the surname was a respectful title for cultivators with attainments in alchemy, equipment refinement and formations. The members of the Tianding Gate now addressed Night Sorrow as Master Knight. Alright, there's no need to be reserved. Let bygones be bygones. I'm doing very well in the West Radiance Peak. Night Sorrow looked at Chu Danxian and spoke. He was also considering Elder Xiang's good intentions towards Chu Danxian, so he didn't want Chu Danxian to be too embarrassed. Chu Danxian nodded. She was very ashamed in her heart because she had gone too far when Night Sorrow had just entered the sect. When Chu Danxian brought Night Sorrow into the main hall, everyone in the main hall stood up. During these past few days, these elders had more or less asked Night Sorrow for help, so they were very respectful to Night Sorrow. A man in a blue robe who was sitting on the main seat stood up as well. I'm Yin Huifeng. I've been in seclusion for many years and neglected Master Knight. I'm very sorry. Yin Huifeng was the only Peak Saint King before the Tianding Gate. He had always been seeking to break through to the King Realm, so he didn't really deal with the sect's matters. This time, he came out of seclusion because of Elder Xiang. Gate Master is too polite. Night Sorrow has been doing very well at the Tianding Gate. All the elders and Elder Xiang have taken good care of Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow cupped his hands at Yin Huifeng. All right, Master Knight, please sit. Yin Huifeng nodded. Come here. Elder Xiang, who was sitting on the first chair on the left, waved at Night Sorrow. This isn't appropriate, Night Sorrow said. After all, he was just an ordinary disciple at the Tianding Gate. No problem. Elder Xiang smiled and nodded. Master Knight, please sit. Yin Huifeng nodded at Night Sorrow again. After thinking for a while, Night Sorrow sat down beside Elder Xiang. Then, Yin Huifeng asked about the situation at the Tianding Gate in recent years, and some of the elders reported back. Next, we'll discuss Master Knight's problem. Master Knight won the title of Purple Crystal Pill King at the Alchemist Conference. This is the glory of the Tianding Gate. In addition, Master Knight is also a Peak Saint King. I'm sure everyone knows this. Cultivating talents, valuing talents, and respecting talents are the foundation of the Tianding Gate, so if anyone has any opinions, please speak up. Yin Huifeng nodded at Night Sorrow, and the topic fell on Night Sorrow. Speak. Chapter 979. Brat, don't say anything. Don't be so useless. Old Xiang looked at Night Sorrow, who was about to speak, and directly spoke to stop him. Night Sorrow was startled and didn't say anything. Old Xiang was always looking out for him. The elders in the main hall were all Saint King level elders. Their intention was for Yi Shang to enter the Elder Pavilion and become an elder as well. Haha, Teacher Knight's situation is the same as mine. Even if it's just a clone, it's probably focused on alchemy, formations, and refining. As an elder, it wouldn't have the time to manage things. We can't delay Teacher Knight's progress. What I mean is for Teacher Knight to be the Tianding Gate's protector elder, said Yin Huifeng. Hearing Yin Huifeng's words, the elders were startled for a moment before nodding. Peak Saint Kings really did have many things to do. After the sect meeting ended, Old Xiang stood up. Teacher Knight has only been at the Tianding Gate for a short time, but his alchemy, forging, and formation skills are all very strong. The main thing is that he has his own understanding, and isn't troubled by some of our Tianding Gate's old problems. You can also ask him for advice. Does Teacher Night have a problem? No problem. Just go to my place and take the good wine and tea. Night Sorrow smiled. Everyone in the hall cupped their hands towards Night Sorrow. They knew that Night Sorrow was just joking. What's the value of wine and tea? Tell me, how's your main body? Asked Old Xiang. I've had some comprehension recently and have entered seclusion. Oh right, Old Xiang. Do you know where I can display the time-attributed will of heaven and earth? Night Sorrow asked. He knew that as a king-level expert, Old Xiang was very knowledgeable. Don't bite off more than you can chew. If you want to control the time-attributed will of heaven and earth, you'll need to restrain him in terms of attributes. He's a fire attribute, while Yen Tianpa is a water attribute. Speak. Chapter 980. Shang Tianfeng was a 5-star king, and Yen Tianpa was a 5-star king. Shang Tianfeng comprehended the mystic fire true intent, while Yen Tianpa comprehended the black water true intent. Their attributes were suppressed, so Shang Tianfeng could only swallow his anger. Even if he brought Yuan Qianba and Gong Yanglai with him, it would be useless. Gong Yanglai was a 2-star saint, and he couldn't help much. Emperor, that Yen Tianpa is too arrogant. Can we join forces with others to kill him? At most, we'll take a portion of the Wuji world and 9 regions world. Yuan Qianba said. If we want to kill him with a 100% chance, we'll have to invite a high-grade king. We can't afford the price of a high-grade king, and we don't have a 100% chance of killing a mid-grade king. If we can't kill him, the consequences will be severe, Shang Tianfeng said. If the old emperor returns from his travels, all these won't be a problem, Yuan Qianba said after thinking for a while. Glancing at Yuan Qianba, Shang Tianfeng left the Sky South Palace. Actually, Yuan Qianba regretted it after saying that. The old emperor's departure was a stain on Shang Tianfeng's reputation, a flaw in his character. Tens of thousands of years ago, the Sky South dynasty's emperor was Shang-Xi. In order to pursue a higher realm, he didn't care about worldly affairs. He wasn't even in the Sky South dynasty. The Sky South dynasty's affairs were managed by Crown Prince Shang Tianfeng and Princess Shang Tianfei. Later, Shang Tianfeng started a war and eliminated his sister's family, as well as his brother-in-law's family. Shang-Xi, who had rushed back after learning of her daughter's death, slapped Shang Tianfeng and left the Tianen Empire, never to appear again. 20,000 years later, Shang Tianfeng followed the rules of the empire, and became the emperor of the Tianen Empire after the emperor's absence for 20,000 years. This wasn't a secret in the Sky South dynasty, but no one mentioned it. Today he was slapped in the face, and Yuan Qianba said it with emotion. After Night Sorrow arrived at the Sky South dynasty's White Dragon City, he walked around the city and used his soul power to investigate. After discovering that there was only one high-grade Saint King and 2 Saint Kings in the city, he decided to take action. After returning to the teleportation formation and taking the teleportation crystal, Night Sorrow killed his way to the city lord's residence. Yi Shang did not hide his cultivation. When he arrived at the city lord's mansion, the 3 saint rulers came out. Lord, this isn't a place. This isn't a place. This isn't a place. City lord. Crown Prince Tang was Crown Prince's territory? Was Crown Prince? Usually, Crown Prince wasn't here. Whether or not I can behave atrociously isn't something you can decide. Use your strength to speak. After Yi Shan finished speaking, he waved his space-splitting spear and charged at them. Chapter. There was a difference in cultivation and attributes. Coupled with Yi Shang's powerful body, the 3 saint rulers could not stop Yi Shang's slaughter. It only took a moment for Yi Shang to kill them all. 1 high-grade Saint King and 2 mid-grade Saint Kings fell in front of Night Sorrow. After collecting their weapons, storage rings and Saint Crystals, Night Sorrow entered the City Lord's residence. His soul power found the City Lord's warehouse, and after a frenzied sweep, he flew back to the teleportation formation. Night Sorrow didn't know which teleportation crystal was for his next target, Sky Flame City. He casually placed a teleportation crystal, set up a spirit explosion array, and started the teleportation. The spirit explosion array would explode after Night Sorrow left, blowing up the teleportation formation. Night Sorrow did this to prevent the other party from reporting. After 2 teleportations, Night Sorrow arrived at Sky Flame City. He repeated his old plan and killed 2 more Saint Kings. After taking their personal resources and the City Lord's resources, he went to the next city. Night Sorrow robbed 1 more city than his original target before quietly leaving and returning to the Tianding Gate. The Tianding Gate was very quiet. After Night Sorrow returned, he went to his courtyard to sort out his harvest. When Night Sorrow finished sorting out the last storage ring, Old Xiang came. And your killing intent and battle intent are very strong. You fought before. Old Xiang said to Night Sorrow. He felt that Night Sorrow's aura was different from before. I've fought a few battles. Recently, I've been running low on materials. So, I went to the South Sky Dynasty and swept through 4 cities. I stole some resources from their city lord's mansion. These can support my cultivation and artifact forging, Yishan said. You're too bold. The Sky South Dynasty is probably in a mess right now. Damn it. A Saint King actually dares to provoke our Sky South Dynasty. He really doesn't want to live anymore. Yuan Qianba's face was full of anger. He will return to the 9 regions world, so entering the 2 extremes city of the Wuji world is a place he must pass through. Sovereign kings are not allowed to go. General Yuan, send a few peak stage Saint Kings from the Fierce Wind Army over. Since he has shown himself, kill him at all costs, Shang Tianfeng, who was sitting in the main guard, ordered. I understand. Yuan Qianba nodded. Chun-Er, send people to put up a portrait of him in our Sky South Dynasty. Raise our vigilance and put out a large bounty for him. Shang Tianfeng made a series of arrangements. The news of the Sky South Dynasty putting out a bounty for a peak Saint King spread. Some people clapped their hands in joy, feeling that Night Sorrow had done well. He was not afraid of power. Some people planned to look for Night Sorrow and get a reward. All cultivators were lacking resources, especially some independent cultivators. Doing some bounty missions was their source of resources. Speak. Chapter 981. In the profound heaven world, there were very few King Realm cultivators, but there were many peak Saint Kings. However, Night Sorrow was one of the more famous ones. He had massacred 4 cities of the Tiannan Empire. This was not something an ordinary person would dare to do. If he was targeted by the Tiannan Empire, he would have to hide for the rest of his life. Once he did, he would be killed by the king of the Tiannan Empire. Night Sorrow had been refining pills for half a month when Elder Xiang returned. He had a serious expression. They have issued a bounty on you, so the problem is more serious. After all, there are many people in the Tianding Gate who know about you. I can guarantee that most people will not leak the secret. However, if there is someone who is blinded by greed, you will be exposed, Elder Xiang said. Night Sorrow stood up and said, I didn't consider it thoroughly. This way, when I leave the Tianding Gate, they can just say that I'm not here and there won't be any problems. Shang Tianfeng must have the courage to come to the gate. Elder Xiang waved his hand to stop Night Sorrow. But this will affect the Tianding Gate. Night Sorrow said. Elder Xiang thought for a moment and said, No, I will deal with this. Besides, the Tianding Gate is too peaceful. It's good to be a little nervous. We have to be vigilant in times of peace. If it continues to be peaceful, it will not be good for the sect. Night Sorrow thought for a moment and nodded. The situation is critical. Elder Xiang, you have to tell me. I have my principles. Elder Xiang nodded and left. Night Sorrow continued to refine pills. What Night Sorrow didn't know was that Elder Xiang had returned to his original appearance after leaving the West Radiance Peak. Then he called for a sect meeting. He didn't tell Night Sorrow about this. King. In the Tianding Gates Hall, everyone who saw Elder Xiang's true appearance bowed. At this moment, he was not Elder Xiang. He was the Tianding King. Sect Master, the Tianding Gate will be preparing for battle. Elder Xiang gave an order to Yan Huifeng. Yes, do we need to gather the disciples outside? Yan Huifeng asked. No need. Elder Xiang shook his head. King, what happened? Is the sect going to enter a defensive or offensive state? Tian Bin asked. As for what happened, there's no harm in telling you. It's Teacher Yi who challenged 4 cities of the Tiannan Empire. and killed some of their saint kings. He's now wanted by the Tiannan Empire. Don't say that he's the one who caused the trouble, because the enmity between Teacher Yi and the Tiannan Empire is too great. Teacher Yi didn't want to get involved with the Tianding Gate, so I asked him to stay, said Elder Xiang. Then Mr. Xiang told him about Night Sorrow's situation. Sovereign King, you don't need to explain. Master Yi is from the Heavenly Cauldron sect. Let's not talk about how we can't fight for him. However, if anyone comes knocking on our door, we must stand together against them, Yan Huifeng said. Originally, Teacher Yi wanted to leave the Tianding Gate. He didn't want the Tianding Gate to get involved in this mess. But our Tianding Gate hasn't experienced any storms for many years, and our unity has declined. We need this kind of situation to stimulate us, said Elder Xiang. Teacher Yi is really fierce. He's such a peaceful person, but he challenged 4 cities of the Tiannan Empire. How domineering, said Tianbin as he waved his arm. Original V. Then that's it. Don't tell Teacher Yi about this for now. Just prepare for battle in secret, said Elder Xiang. In fact, there would always be brave men with great rewards. The South Sky Dynasty still received news that there was a member of the Heavenly Cauldron sect called Night Sorrow. In the Tiannan Palace, Shang Tianfeng sat in the main seat, bathed in the light of the fire. Shang Zhengchun, who was in charge of the scouting operation, told him about the situation with Night Sorrow. Heavenly Cauldron sect. He actually joined the Heavenly Cauldron sect. This matter won't be easy to handle, Shang Tianfeng mumbled softly. Emperor, if the Tianding Gate's Night Sorrow is the 9 regions' world's Night Sorrow, then the Tianding Gate is in the wrong. We can definitely go and ask for him, said Yuan Qianba. Do you think the Tianding Gate will hand him over? Even if they're in the wrong, they'll lose face if they hand him over. That Xiang Tianding won't compromise, said Shang Tianfeng. Then we'll just endure it, said Gong Yanglai angrily. Among the holy kings that Night Sorrow had killed, 2 of them were members of the Gongyang family. The Gongyang family had suffered a great loss. General Yuan, go to the Tianding Gate and negotiate with them. We're willing to pay a great price. After thinking about it, Shang Tianfeng made his decision. The Tiannan Empire was very powerful, but the Tianding Gate was also a power with a long history. The Tianding King's heaven-bearing cauldron was a stabilizing force. It wasn't something that any power could easily provoke. When Yuan Qianba arrived at the foot of the Tianding Gate mountain, Elder Xiang appeared. Lord King, why have you graced my Tianding Gate with your presence? I am Yuan Qianba from the Tiannan Empire. I've come to pay a visit to the Tianding King on the orders of my ruler. Yuan Qianba's posture was very low because he felt a powerful pressure. Then let's talk in the main hall. Elder Xiang nodded. He couldn't refuse someone who had come to pay a visit. In the main hall, Yuan Qianba said a few polite words before speaking his purpose. How can I say that for no reason? Someone from the Tiannan Empire has come to pay a visit. Go back and tell your ruler that coming to the Tianding Gate is impossible. Even if Night Sorrow did something, that's between you. The Tianding Gate's face isn't something that just anyone can slap. Elder Xiang directly expressed his attitude. It could be said that he didn't give Yuan Qianba any face. The Tiannan Empire is willing to pay a price. Yuan Qianba stood up. Gate Master, see the guest out. Elder Xiang directly waved his sleeve. Tianding King, you have to understand that the Tianding Gate's disciples attacked my Tiannan Empire's 4 cities. We can't just let this matter pass. If you insist, it won't be good for the Tianding Gate, said Yuan Qianba. You came to scare me? Haha, I want to see how it won't be good for me. Elder Xiang sneered. Yuan Qianba looked at the Tianding King, and then left the main hall. He was helpless about this result. He didn't dare say anything more excessive. If he angered Elder Xiang, he wouldn't have a good ending. Do you really think the Tiannan Empire is the overlord of the profound heaven world? Elder Xiang waved his sleeve and left the main hall. Night Sorrow was still refining pills. He didn't know what was going on outside. When Elder Xiang arrived, Night Sorrow had just finished refining a cauldron of spirit comprehension pills. Clapping his hands, Night Sorrow brewed a pot of tea. Elder Xiang, you're a bit angry. Who made you unhappy? No, It's just a bastard who disgusted me. Elder Xiang smiled. Night Sorrow and Elder Xiang drank tea and chatted. Night Sorrow's refining was very smooth. He didn't need to ask anything. What cultivation technique are you cultivating? If you have time, you can take a look at the Tianding Gate's Sacred Cauldron scripture. Speak. Chapter 982. Elder Xiang, what are you talking about? Night Sorrow was shocked. I don't know what scripture you are cultivating, but you can compare it with the scripture of the Heavenly Cauldron sect. You can gain more insights from your current foundation and increase your combat strength, Old Xiang said to Yi Shang. Not that. Elder Xiang, what scripture are you talking about? Night Sorrow asked again. What's wrong with the Holy Cauldron scripture? Elder Xiang looked at Night Sorrow in surprise. He didn't understand why Night Sorrow was so excited. My sect's scripture is the Holy Cauldron scripture, Night Sorrow said. Tell me, is it the same? Elder Xiang was also shocked. Night Sorrow recited the first part of the Holy Cauldron scripture. Then Elder Xiang recited the second part. What's going on? I created the Holy Cauldron scripture. How can you know if you haven't seen it? Elder Xiang looked at Night Sorrow in shock. How can Elder Xiang's scripture be passed down in the 9-domain world? Night Sorrow was also very puzzled. This meant that the Medicine Valley and the Tianding Gate had a connection. How many years has the Medicine Valley sect in the 9-domain world been passed down for? Elder Xiang asked. It's less than 10,000 years old. I don't know if it's not recorded, Night Sorrow said. Could it be that one of the disciples of the Tianding Gate went to the 9-domain world and created the gate? Elder Xiang said. The two of them then discussed and felt that it was very likely that one of the disciples of the Tianding Gate went to the 9-domain world and created the sect. Elder Xiang, what level can the Tianding Gate's Holy Cauldron scripture reach? Night Sorrow asked after explaining the situation of the Medicine Valley's Holy Cauldron scripture. King, the level of the Medicine Valley is a bit low. How about this? I'll go to the 9-domain world with you and see the records of the Medicine Valley. If there's a connection, the Tianding Gate can help the Medicine Valley develop. Elder Xiang said after thinking for a moment. RZ original initial K, initial J. Night Sorrow nodded. He also agreed with this idea. It could be said that the Medicine Valley was a branch of the Tianding Gate. As for whether the Medicine Valley was willing to recognize the Tianding Gate, it depended on the decision of the higher-ups of the Medicine Valley. Old Xiang went to the Heavenly Cauldron Palace and told Yan Huifeng that he was going to visit the 9 regions world. Yan Huifeng was also very interested, and he wanted to go to the 9 regions world with him. Thus, the three of them set off for the 9 domains world. The Sky South Empire's men who wanted to kill Night Sorrow were in the 2 extreme city, but with Elder Xiang, whose cultivation base could not be seen through, they did not dare to make a move. Night Sorrow and Elder Xiang arrived at the 2 extreme city. The Yanwu Absolute notified Yin Tianpa. After all, the king's crossing of the border was a big matter. Yin Tianpa soon arrived at 2 extreme city. Rare guest, Yin Tianpa greets you. Yin Tianpa laughed and cupped his fists towards Elder Xiang. Flame World Lord is too polite. This seat intends to visit Night Sorrow's world, so I would like to disturb the Flame World Lord. Elder Xiang said. Absolute, you idiot. I already said that Night Sorrow is this seat's nephew, and the people he brought are all guests. Why do you still need to notify him? Yen Tianpa scolded Absolute before bringing Night Sorrow and the rest to Limitless City. Yen Tianpu and Lin Ruoxu warmly received Night Sorrow, Elder Xiang and Yan Huifeng. After which, Night Sorrow brought Elder Xiang and Yan Huifeng to the city in the sky. After exiting the city in the sky's teleportation array, Elder Xiang looked at Night Sorrow and said in astonishment, Virtuous body. You have a virtuous body in the 9 regions world. Yes, I might have some virtuous body in the 9 regions world. Night Sorrow nodded. Night Sorrow's return was a joyous occasion. Night Sorrow knew that Elder Xiang and Yan Huifeng didn't like crowds, so he brought his wife to greet them before letting them stay for the time being. After spending 2 days with his family, Night Sorrow brought Elder Xiang, Yan Huifeng, his 3 wives and Xueshi to the Medicine Valley. Night Sorrow brought them directly to the Pill Cauldron main hall. After which, He nodded towards Chu Ling Xiao, who was on duty, and asked him to call all the higher-ups of the Medicine Valley over. After the Great Elder, Hua Yinpeng, Yu Yangyu and the rest arrived, Knight Sorrow introduced Elder Xiang and Yan Huifeng to everyone. He also told them about the Holy Cauldron scripture. After listening to Knight Sorrow's introduction, Hua Yinpeng and the rest were shocked. Once it was confirmed that the Medicine Valley's inheritance came from the Tianding Gate, it would be a big deal. Don't be nervous. I won't force you to do anything. I just heard that the Holy Cauldron scripture was passed down in the 9 regions world, so I came to take a look. Also, here is a list of all the names of our disciples in the past 20,000 years. You can check if your founder is among them, Elder Xiang said. Many of the ancient records of our Medicine Valley have disappeared, but the names of the alchemy ancestor and the founder of the sect still exist. The alchemy ancestor is Xiang Jun, and the founder of the sect is Master Yao Qing, the great elder said. Yao Qing? It's Yao Qing? Yan Huifeng stood up in surprise. What's wrong? Sect master, you know Yao Qing? Elder Xiang asked Yan Huifeng. I know him. He joined the sect at the same time as I did. He wasn't very focused on cultivation, but he had a special interest in alchemy. That was 20,000 years ago. He went out to collect herbs and never appeared again. I investigated his disappearance and found that he went to the Tiannan dynasty to collect the cloud spirit fruit. At that time, we were only elite disciples. The Holy Cauldron scripture could only help us reach the saint level. Yan Huifeng flipped through the list as he spoke. Because there was a specific number of years, it didn't take him long to find the record of Yao Qing. Yan Huifeng took the list and showed it to everyone. My surname is Xiang. It seems that there is no mistake. How about this? Don't feel pressured. If you need any help, the Tianding Gate will support you. You can also continue to cultivate at the Tianding Gate. The inheritance will be passed down to you, Elder Xiang said. Although it was confirmed that the Medicine Valley was a branch of the Tianding Gate, Elder Xiang didn't want to force the Medicine Valley to acknowledge their ancestors. After all, the Medicine Valley was already an independent sect. Although Elder Xiang thought so, the first rule of the Medicine Valley's inheritance was to respect one's teachers. Since Yu Yangyu and the others knew where the inheritance came from, they naturally wouldn't deny it. Everyone bowed to Elder Xiang and respectfully called him Ancestral Master. Very well. Knight Sorrow, if you hadn't entered the Tianxian world, the Tianding Gate wouldn't have known that they had lost an inheritance. Now is a good thing. As for what the Medicine Valley plans to do next, the Tianding Gate will fully support it. Sect Master will communicate with everyone. Knight Sorrow, accompany me to walk around. Today is really a good day, Elder Xiang said with a smile. Knight Sorrow nodded. He knew some things. Yan Huifeng, Yu Yangyu, and the others would communicate well. Knight Sorrow brought Elder Xiang to the Supreme River Space, the Underworld, and the Profound Mysteries realm. With him, Elder Xiang could naturally enter and exit the 9 domains world. The 3 domains are very peaceful. You have governed them well. No wonder you have so much power of virtue, Elder Xiang said to Knight Sorrow as he looked at him. I just want the people around me. I want everyone to live a better life. Knight Sorrow really didn't deliberately seek power of virtue. You don't understand. Power of virtue is hard to find, even in the Tianxian world. If you have some merit in the Tianxian world, then your body of virtue will be triggered and the Tianxian world will recognize you, Elder Xiang said. Speak. Chapter 983. Let nature take its course. I don't know how to proceed either, Knight Sorrow said with a nod. Sometimes letting nature take its course is the closest to the way of heaven, Elder Xiang said with a smile. When Knight Sorrow brought Elder Xiang to Sky City, he found that Yan Huifeng and Medicine Valley's higher-ups were all in Sky City. Master, why is everyone here? Knight Sorrow asked in surprise. Knight Sorrow, we've discussed it. Medicine Valley's heritage is at the Tianding Gate, so it's natural for them to acknowledge their ancestors. Sect Master Yin said it's up to you. Yu Yangyu said. Don't look at me. I can't handle these things well. It's up to everyone to decide. Knight Sorrow really wasn't good at handling these things. King, what do you think? Yan Huifeng looked at Elder Xiang. You're pushing everything to me. Their heritage is mine, just like the Tianding Gate. It's up to you to arrange it. Elder Xiang glared at Yan Huifeng and said, Elder Lu, let's set up a peak at the Tianding Gate called Danding Peak. Medicine Valley will develop there. The resources and treatment that the Tianding Gate gave to other peaks will also be given to Medicine Valley. We'll also pass on our heritage to them, Yan Huifeng said. Thank you, Sect Master. Thank you, Sect Master. Yu Yangyu and the others bowed to Elder Xiang and Yan Huifeng. Night Sorrow was happy to see this result. It was a new chapter for Medicine Valley. The Medicine Valley of the Nine Realms world can't be neglected. After all, Medicine Valley is a heritage for the Nine Realms world. It can give many young people and children opportunities, Night Sorrow said. Night Sorrow, don't worry. We won't do that, the Great Elder said. After sending Elder Xiang, Yan Huifeng, and the people of Medicine Valley off, Night Sorrow stayed with his family. He and his wives went for a walk in the sacred hall. Night Sorrow also needed to rest. His main body also felt the clone's relaxation. In addition, Night Sorrow's clone was no different from his main body, except that he couldn't do some things with his wives. In addition, everyone's cultivation had improved greatly in the past few years when Night Sorrow left. After resting for half a year in the Nine Realms world, Yu Yangyu told Night Sorrow that the Medicine Valley had officially established itself at the Tianding Gate. Night Sorrow ended his rest and took his 3 wives and Xueshi to Wuji City through the teleportation array. Yen Tianpa was afraid that Night Sorrow and the others would be intercepted, so he sent Night Sorrow and the others into the teleportation array. In fact, everyone knew that the Tiannan dynasty had arranged people in Two Poles City. They were no match for King's cultivators. Night Sorrow wasn't afraid either. Yen Tianpa naturally didn't want Night Sorrow to be in danger, so he just sent him off. Tianding Gate. Danding Peak was the name of the West Jade Peak, which was very close to the West Radiance Peak. Yu Yangyu and the others had even specially built a courtyard for Night Sorrow at a place with a bamboo forest. The layout was similar to Night Sorrow's bamboo forest peak in the Medicine Valley, and it was called the Bamboo Grove Courtyard. Night Sorrow arrived at the West Radiance Peak and apologized to Chu Danxian and the others because he would be staying at the Bamboo Grove Courtyard on Danding Peak in the future. The members of the West Radiance Peak were very reluctant to see Night Sorrow leave. Night Sorrow had helped them a lot in the past few years, and it could be said that Night Sorrow had a good relationship and reputation on the West Radiance Peak. Night Sorrow smiled as he looked at the group of people that were sending him off. I'm not leaving the Tianding Gate. Do all of you see Danding Peak on the opposite side? There's a Bamboo Grove Courtyard there. I'll be staying there in the future, and all of you can look for me at any time. The disciples of the West Radiance Peak were at ease when they heard Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow's heart was at ease when he arrived at the Bamboo Grove Courtyard. It was a special kind of comfort. With his 3 wives and Xueshi by his side, Night Sorrow wasn't living alone anymore. Night Sorrow, you can actually bring the space-time pagoda over and let the members of the God-slaying squad cultivate while going out to train. They need to broaden their horizons as well, said Yang Lei. That's good too. Now that the 9 regions world is stable, I can bring some people to the Tianding Gate. It's safe here, and they can cultivate here. Night Sorrow thought for a moment and felt that it was indeed feasible. Night Sorrow then returned to the 9 regions world and brought his parents, sister, the members of the God-slaying squad, Wu Lingfei, and Zhu Juyun to the Tianding Gate's Danding Peak. When Night Sorrow returned to the 9 regions world, the Sky South Empire's troops guarding Two Extreme City had already retreated. They didn't have the chance to make a move the previous few times, but they knew that Night Sorrow was vigilant and went back to report it. Night Sorrow refined pills and refined artifacts every day. The disciples of the Tianding Gate came to ask for pointers or help with refining pills and artifacts, and Night Sorrow didn't refuse any of them. Elder Xiang also frequently came to Night Sorrow's place to chat and drink tea with Night Sorrow and talk about the current situation in the Sky Profound world. Elder Xiang couldn't help Night Sorrow's main body with his cultivation. Not only could Elder Xiang not help, no one could help. He needed to comprehend on his own. If he didn't comprehend, he could only be stuck here forever. There were many peak saints in the Sky Profound world, and there were even some Daos. He needs time. He's still young, and it's not rational for him to fight with the other party like this. Yan Huifeng was also worried about Night Sorrow's safety. Speak. Chapter 984. While Night Sorrow was drinking tea, Elder Xiang came to his courtyard. Elder Xiang, you're here. I made some good tea this time. Yishang greeted him. You're a picky eater. If you can say it's good tea, then you have to try it, said Elder Xiang as he sat down. Heart-cleansing tea. It can wash away the dust in a person's heart. I got it in the Nine Realms world, but I usually don't drink it. I only drank it after I started killing. Night Sorrow poured Elder Xiang a cup of tea. Elder Xiang took a sip and closed his eyes. Good tea. It's really good for the soul. After drinking a pot of tea, Elder Xiang told him why he had come. He didn't want Night Sorrow to go to the Tiannan dynasty again. After all, it was too dangerous. I think they'll restrain themselves. Elder Xiang, you don't have to worry. I'm only fighting with my clone. I don't think they can afford it, said Night Sorrow. You don't have to worry too much. The Tianding Gate isn't made of paper. If they want to fight with the Tianding Gate, then let them. It's not like the disciples of the Tianding Gate can't fight. They also need to go through some hardships, said Elder Xiang. I understand what Elder Xiang means. What I want to tell Elder Xiang is that my fellow disciples in the Heavenly Cauldron sect are all my brothers. Perhaps some of them have never interacted with me before, but our brotherhood still exists. I don't want to see others die, because of the trouble I caused. When you need me to fight, I will stand at the very front. Yi Shan expressed his attitude. All right. If you need to fight, I'll come find you. Elder Xiang was very pleased that Yi Shang had such an attitude. A sect or a force needed people like Yi Shang, who had the determination and perseverance to fight for the sect to the end. After Elder Xiang left, Wu Lingfei, Xueshi, and the others came to Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow smiled and told them why Elder Xiang had come. This is the spirit of a top sect. They can protect their disciples, said Yang Lei. 6th Senior Sister, 9th Senior Sister, First Feather, how is your comprehension of the laws going? Night Sorrow asked. Afterward, the three women told Night Sorrow that their comprehension of the laws was more or less complete. They would be able to make a breakthrough later. This made Night Sorrow feel very relieved, because after entering the saint level, his three wives did not need to worry about their lifespans. Don't be hasty. Take your time. We're not in a hurry. You guys have plenty of time, Night Sorrow said with a smile. Over the next few days, Night Sorrow continued to refine defensive equipment. He planned to fully equip his wife, Wu Lingfei, and the others. A few days later, Night Sorrow finished the task. This was the efficiency of a saint-level tool refiner. However, it was much more difficult to refine a saint-level tool refiner. Now Night Sorrow still lacked some auxiliary materials. On this day, just as he was cultivating the heavenly wasteland killing spear, Old Xiang came. While Night Sorrow was brewing tea, Old Xiang looked at Night Sorrow and said, You know about the longevity limitless pill, right? I know. It's a Peak Saint King medicinal pill. It's on the same level as the Spirit Comprehension pill, but the main ingredient, the longevity limitless fruit, is very hard to find. It's almost never seen the market, said Night Sorrow. The longevity limitless pill's value was terrifying. No other medicinal pill could compare to it. It could not increase one's cultivation base or comprehension ability, but it could increase one's lifespan. In other words, even if a person had never cultivated before, after eating it, they would have a lifespan of 10,000 years. It could also solve some of the body's hidden problems, such as innate or acquired disabilities. Recently, the limitless territory has appeared. The most precious treasure there is the longevity limitless fruit. Think about it. If you want stability, don't go. If you think it's worth it, go take a look. A single longevity limitless pill can be sold for an astronomical price at an auction house. It can be exchanged for countless spirit stones and resources. It'll be very helpful to your growth, said Old Xiang. I'll definitely go. In truth, Night Sorrow had long since thought about the longevity limitless pill. It was just that the main ingredient, the longevity limitless fruit, was a legendary ingredient, so he couldn't get his hands on it. Night Sorrow had learned about the longevity limitless pill because Old Gu's father needed it. The longevity limitless pill could replenish 10,000 years of lifespan. So Night Sorrow didn't have to worry about Old Goo's lifespan. In addition, his severed arm could be regrown, so he didn't need to enter the Saint Realm. Heaven-defying treasures had the ability to change laws. This is an introduction to the limitless territory. It's quite detailed. Take a look. Old Xiang gave Night Sorrow a map and a book about the limitless territory. Then he left Night Sorrow's little house in the bamboo forest. As he studied it, Night Sorrow understood what the limitless territory was like. First appearance. Every time the limitless territory appeared, it would appear at the intersection of the heaven mystic world and the firmament world. It would appear once every 90,000 years. Every time it appeared, it would be accompanied by a storm of blood. This was because everyone needed the longevity limitless fruit. Furthermore, there were many treasures in the limitless territory. It was a place to seek opportunities. There was only a 1-year limit. With the attraction of the heaven mystic world and the firmament world, it would stay between the two worlds for a year. It could even be said that King Realm cultivators wanted to enter, but they couldn't. The limitless territory was a special space. Once a King Realm cultivator entered, the space would collapse. Thus, even if a King Realm cultivator wanted to enter, they could only wander around the spatial turbulence outside. It was impossible for them to enter. Even if a King Realm cultivator didn't enter, it wouldn't be safe. This was because there were people entering from every world. Thus, Night Sorrow was still cautious. Furthermore, there were King Realm beasts in the limitless territory. It wasn't strange for them to kill a peak Saint King. While Night Sorrow was studying the map of the limitless territory, Night Sorrow's 3 wives came over. Looking at the map and books in front of Night Sorrow, they picked them up and took a look. The limitless territory is very mysterious. It can actually produce the longevity limitless fruit, Yang Lei said in surprise after taking a look. Night Sorrow, are you going to the limitless territory? Aoi asked. She was meticulous and wasn't as careless as Yang Lei. Yes. The limitless territory will open soon. I plan to go and take a look. In the heaven mystic world, we don't have much accumulation. Resources are also a problem. As our cultivation increases, we need more resources. The main thing is that the longevity limitless fruit is very important to Father Gu, Night Sorrow said. Sikong Chuyu and the others didn't say anything because this involved Father Gu. Father Gu was the most important person in Night Sorrow's heart. It was useless to persuade him. Night Sorrow would definitely go. What you need to cultivate is your mental state, so don't work too hard. If you want to return to the 9 regions world, just tell me. If I'm not here, you can go back by yourselves. The people of the South Sky Dynasty don't recognize you. They will treat you as people from the limitless territory and won't easily make a move, Night Sorrow said. The girls nodded. They were still worried about Night Sorrow. The dangers of entering the limitless territory weren't just cultivators killing each other. There were also high-level beasts in the limitless territory. The risk was very high. Speak. Chapter 985. Although they were worried, they knew that they couldn't persuade him. They could only remind him. Don't worry. Compared to other Saint Kings, my life-saving ability is still very strong. Not just anyone can kill me. Over the years, many people have wanted to kill me, but no one has succeeded. Night Sorrow said with a smile. Bring the pagoda of time and space. With 2 saint treasures for defense, we can rest assured. Sikong Chuyu said. There's still some time. I'll make some preparations. Night Sorrow said. He planned to refine the sky-piercing spear soon. It was a weapon that had been with him for a long time. It could still be used at a critical moment. After the girls nodded, they made tea and chatted. They didn't mention this topic again. Night Sorrow rested for 2 days and took out the sky-piercing spear to refine. The quality of the sky-piercing spear and the 5-clawed pterosaur tendon was too low. They couldn't withstand a battle at the Saint King level, so Night Sorrow wanted to refine them. With a lot of materials, Night Sorrow didn't have any difficulty refining. Originally, Night Sorrow planned to refine a high-grade saint artifact, but because he was serious about it and used good materials, high-grade saint artifact was not the limit. Then Night Sorrow added 7 wind attribute auxiliary formations to make the sky-piercing spear's penetrating power even stronger. In the end, the sky-piercing spear was refined into a Saint King artifact. Of course, it was only a low-grade Saint King artifact, but it was enough. With the energy of the user, it wouldn't be damaged. Holding the sky-piercing spear, Night Sorrow was very satisfied. The toughness and strength of the 5-clawed pterosaur tendon with the soft silver essence were also very high. You haven't used the sky-piercing spear for a long time, right? Sikong Chiyu said. It's not that I don't use it. I'm afraid of damaging it. That lightning tribulation destroyed some. This is the last one. I have to be careful. Night Sorrow said with a smile. Sikong Chiyu and the others nodded. They all knew that Night Sorrow was a nostalgic person. After refining the weapons, Night Sorrow refined some healing pills for external and internal injuries. He also refined some detoxification pills. The environment there is terrible. Anything can happen. You can refine some poison to protect yourself. Yang Lei said. Under normal circumstances, only Yang Lei could come up with such an idea. Sikong Chiyu and Aoi would never come up with it. Then I'll have to find some advanced poison materials. Ordinary poisons won't have any effect. Night Sorrow said after giving the matter some thought. At this moment, Zhu Juyin walked over. Night Sorrow, you're a sage-grade weapon forger. Can you upgrade my weapon? This is a spirit-grade crescent blade. It's going to be troublesome if it needs to be protected by the rules during a battle. Zhu Juyin wanted to cultivate in the pagoda of time and space, so she followed Yi Zichen to Night Sorrow's place. The main reason was that everything was going well in the Nether Realm. Everything was going well with the 9 domain worlds, so she was not worried. I'm sorry. I just became a Sage King grade weapon forger. Night Sorrow said with a smile. He was very proud at this moment. Then I don't want a Saint grade weapon. I want a Sage King grade weapon. Zhu Juyun said after being stunned for a moment. You don't want the materials. Do you want me to refine the weapon with my bare hands? Or do you want me to waste my time and materials? Night Sorrow said. Stingy. My weapon is good. It's all for you to fight. Take these materials. You can decide if it's enough or not. Zhu Juyun placed the crescent blade in front of Night Sorrow and took out some materials. You're good. Then what about your clone's weapon? Night Sorrow asked. Zhu Juyun sighed and shook her head helplessly. My weapon is already a problem. How can I be in the mood to care about my clone? You're taking advantage of the rich. Just make a Saint-grade weapon for your clone. Night Sorrow also felt helpless. Even if Zhu Juyun did not have the materials, he still had to refine it. Yi Shang spent 3 days refining weapons for Zhu Juyun. He refined a Saint Ruler artifact and 2 scimitars, which were high-grade Saint artifacts. I'm a little tired of cultivating here. I'll go out later to consolidate my cultivation. Zhu Juyun said as she waved the crescent blade. I'm going out to train as well. The place I'm going to is very dangerous. Are you coming? Night Sorrow asked with a smile. What do you mean? Zhu Juyun asked. Yi Shan handed over the map and the introduction to the Void Dominion to Zhu Juyun before leaving. He still had a batch of pills and a batch of high-quality Saint artifacts on hand. He was going to Big Dipper City to find Old Man Zhang to deal with them. When Night Sorrow arrived at Big Dipper City, Old Zhang naturally received him warmly. He also accepted Night Sorrow's goods at a fair price. He was a member of the Alchemist Union, and Night Sorrow had joined the Alchemist Union before. He could be considered one of them. After accepting the Spirit Stones, Night Sorrow now had over 70 Saint Spirit Stones. It was not a small fortune. Elder Zhang, I'd like to ask if you could help me get some strange poison materials. Yi Shan stated his purpose for coming. Night Sorrow, I know you have enmity with the Southern Sky Dynasty, but poisoning people is against the heavens. Old Zhang said to Night Sorrow. Old Zhang, you're overthinking things. You know about the Endless Weave, right? I'm preparing to enter the Endless Weave. I'm keeping a life-saving measure, Night Sorrow said. That's not a problem. I have some poison materials here. Come with me. Elder Zhang brought Yi Shang into the inner room, then took out a piece of ice from his storage ring. In the middle of the ice was a pale white skull, and there were small white blades of grass growing out of the skull's 7 orifices. This is 7 extinction grass. It attacks the spirit sea of people and creatures. If plant life forms have sentience, they'll be attacked as well. As for how you use it, that's none of my business, Old Zhang said. How many pills are needed for this depends on your goal. I heard you refined a Saint King artifact. Not bad. Both your alchemy and artifact refining skills are at the Saint King grade. That's amazing. Old Xiang's eyes were full of praise. Old Xiang, I have something to ask. Does our Tianding Gate have any ancient books on poison refinement? Knight Sorrow asked. What kind of evil tricks do you have in mind? Old Zhang asked. Chapter 986. I've got the 7 extremes grass. I'm planning to make some poison for self-defense. Knight Sorrow said. Knight Sorrow, poison is a heretical path after all. It can't be considered refined. I don't want you to walk this path either. Give me the materials and I'll refine it for you. Besides, the 7 despair grass is a Tao. It's a competition of fate, not a game. Knight Sorrow said. I know my limits. With my strength, I'll be tortured if I don't follow you. I'm just following you to broaden my horizons. Zhu Juyun said. Be obedient when you're in. Don't mess around. Knight Sorrow reminded Zhu Juyun. For the next few days, Knight Sorrow accompanied his wife and parents to walk around the Tianding Gate. When Knight Sorrow returned to the bamboo grove, he realized that everyone from Medicine Valley was there. Master, Grand Elder, why are you all here? Knight Sorrow asked. We're looking for you. Yu Yangyu said. Master, what do you need me to do? Knight Sorrow did not understand what Yu Yangyu and the rest were facing. Danding Peak doesn't have a peak master. Master and Grand Elder are just elders in name. Yu Yangyu said. Then Master and Grand Elder Hua, or Grand Elder. He knew Knight Sorrow's character. If he were to let Knight Sorrow manage the affairs of Danding Peak, he would be making things difficult for Knight Sorrow. Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. After everyone had decided, before Yu Yangyu and the rest left, Old Xiang arrived. He placed dozens of pill bottles on the table in front of Knight Sorrow. Knight Sorrow, here are 10 bottles of 7 extremes poison smoke and 1 bottle of antidote. There are 10 antidote pills, just enough. Thank you, Old Xiang. I'll make some tea. Knight Sorrow kept the pills and started making tea. You have a lot of people here today, Elder Xiang said as he looked at Yu Yangyu and the others. Patriarch, we have something to discuss. Hua Yinping bowed to Old Xiang. Tell me what you need. If I can help, I'll help. If I can't, I'll help, Elder Xiang said. Following which, Hua Yinpeng went on to talk about the changes in personnel at Danding Peak, as well as everyone's arrangements. You're right. Knight Sorrow is suitable to be the peak leader. With a few Saint Kings, Danding Peak's strength is not bad. There's also Knight Sorrow. Not bad, not bad. Elder Xiang smiled and nodded. He knew that this was because of Knight Sorrow's unity. Otherwise, Medicine Valley's level in Tianding Gate was indeed lower. Mr. Xiang had originally wanted to hold a ceremony, but Knight Sorrow felt that it was unnecessary. They could just file it at the Tianding Gate. Elder Xiang nodded and went to arrange this. That's it then. Master, if you have any problems, please look for me. I'll take care of it, Knight Sorrow said. He also did not want to make things difficult for Yu Yangyu and the others. After the people from Medicine Valley left, Knight Sorrow took out a few jars of wine and placed them on the table. Come, I won't say anything else. Just a few jars of wine to thank Auntie Fei, Xueshi, and Juyun. Knight Sorrow had already prepared everything about going to the No Weave. In addition, he had also found some handwritten letters and information about the No Weave in Tianding City and Big Dipper City. He wanted to compare them and understand more about the No Weave. As he compared them with the handwritten letters, Knight Sorrow learned more about the No Weave. It was a world with a radius of tens of millions of miles. It was usually difficult to get close to the No Weave. It appeared because it was close to the firmament world and the mysterious heaven world. Cultivators could enter from the firmament world and the mysterious heaven world. Entering the No Weave, the first danger was competitors. This was because many cultivators entered, and almost all of them were peak Saint Kings. As long as you did not know them, they would be your opponents. Even if you did not remember them, others would still plot against you. The best way was to kill those you did not know. This was the safest way. The no-weave was also very dangerous. It was already confirmed that there were King Realm beings in the no-weave. There were records of the Silver Scorpion King, Flame King, and King Kong King. These were 3 special beings. The Silver Scorpion King was a gifted member of the Silver Scorpion tribe. It had strong defense and poisonous vital energy. It controlled the heavenly poison will, and was good at using poison. Saint Kings would not be able to survive if they encountered it. The Flame King was a flame lion. It was also favored by heaven and earth. It had cultivated to the King Realm, and controlled the dark flame will. Its strength was its attack power, and its weakness was its speed. The King Kong King had the King Kong ape. It had great strength and strong defense. When it controlled the earth will, its speed was not its strength. According to the records of the person who left the letter, he had seen the limitless longevity tree. However, with the King Kong King guarding it, he was lucky to survive. However, he could not obtain the limitless longevity fruit. Night Sorrow thought for a moment. He felt that among the 3 kings, the Silver Scorpion King was the most deadly because it was fast. The Flame King was second. If these 2 kings took the limitless longevity fruit, he would have no chance at all. The King Kong King had strong defense, but speed was its weakness. Night Sorrow had the rules of space and speed was his strength. If he was lucky, he would have a chance. Night Sorrow, are you still researching? Going in depends on luck, Zhu Juyun said. I still have to make more preparations. This way I won't go in blind, Night Sorrow said. Speak. Chapter 987. Look. Alright, I'll go with you anyway. You kill the experts and I'll clean up the lackeys, Zhu Juyun said with a smile. Zhu Juyun was not a brainless woman, but now that Night Sorrow had done what he needed to do, she did not need to worry. In the blink of an eye, 2 months had passed. The no-weave was getting closer and closer to the Tianxian world. Night Sorrow and Zhu Juyun also planned to set off. Worried that Night Sorrow would be ambushed by the people from the Tiannan Empire, Elder Xiang personally accompanied Night Sorrow and Zhu Juyun to the entrance of the no-weave. When you feel the spatial barrier ripple, tear open space and pass through the spatial turbulence to reach the no-weave. Remember, you only have 1 year. After a year, the no-weave will leave this region. If you don't return in a year, it will be difficult for you to travel back. Then you will be trapped for 90,000 years. The lifespan of a Saint King is only 10,000 years. Moreover, it is unrealistic to want to survive for 90,000 years. Elder Xiang reminded Night Sorrow and Zhu Juyun. Now the 2 of them were members of the Tianxian Gate. One was a peak Saint King, and the other was a high-level Saint King. They were both important members of the sect. A few days ago, Yin Huifeng drank tea with Night Sorrow. He was the leader of the Tianxian Gate. He could not make the decision casually. Otherwise, he would also want to go. After that, people came one after another. They were all peak Saint Kings. There were even more people from the Tiannan Empire. It was a team of 7 Saint Kings. 3 of them were peak Saint Kings. Seeing Night Sorrow, the few of them looked at him angrily because Night Sorrow had slapped them in the face. Night Sorrow's response was a bright smile. Be careful after you go in. It is inevitable that there will be battles, Elder Xiang reminded Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow nodded. He knew that after going in, some battles would be unavoidable and unavoidable. 6 days later, the spatial barrier trembled. It was the movement of the no-weave, which caused the spatial turbulence to impact the Tianxian world. Juyun, enter my spatial treasure. If there's a chance we'll leave first, Night Sorrow said. Zhu Juyun nodded, and did not resist Night Sorrow's soul power. He then entered the space-time pagoda. Now, Night Sorrow had 2 defensive sacred artifacts, and the 9-domain origin bead in his spirit sea. Originally, the 9-domain origin bead was in the spirit sea of Night Sorrow's original body. However, his original body was currently cultivating, and the one moving around the heaven profound world was his clone. The one dealing with matters and crises was his clone. Therefore, Night Sorrow transferred the 9-domain origin bead to his clone. Thankfully, The 9 regions origins bead could communicate with Night Sorrow, allowing the space-time pagoda to enter the divine sea. The dragon cauldron was still in Night Sorrow's dantian. 2 days later, Night Sorrow tore the space and felt the strength of the space turbulence. He told Old Xiang that he was going to leave first. After checking the distance, he felt that he could travel through it. Looking at Night Sorrow, Old Xiang nodded. He knew that Night Sorrow would not do something that he was not confident in. Now that he dared to leave first, it meant that he was confident in himself, and had the strength to do so. After greeting Elder Xiang, Yishan tore through space again, and started to travel towards the No Dominion that he'd scouted. The distance was less than 1,500 feet. With Night Sorrow's suppression of the Void Law, the protection of the Time Law, and the cutting of the Space Law, it was not too difficult to travel. After using less than an hour, Night Sorrow arrived at the periphery of the No territory. After using the spatial Ren to break the barrier, Night Sorrow entered the No territory. After scanning the area and feeling that there was no danger, Night Sorrow inserted a soul crystal ball into an inconspicuous place. Then, he flew along the spatial barrier for a while before entering the space-time pagoda. "We're in the No territory?" Zhu Juyun asked. "We're here. I've used up quite a bit of energy, so I need to recover first. In a dangerous place like the No territory, I need to be in peak condition at all times. Otherwise, it will be troublesome if I encounter any problems," Night Sorrow said. Zhu Juyun nodded. She understood this logic. If he was in peak condition and could not solve any problems, then it was his own problem. He could not blame anyone. However, if he was not in peak condition and got killed, then it was his own problem. For hours later, Night Sorrow had recovered to peak condition. He stood up and drank a mouthful of wine. Looking at Zhu Juyun, he said, "Then let's go. We won't mix with others. If they want to fight, then fight. It has nothing to do with us." Night Sorrow had come in early to avoid some trouble. There were too many people who wanted to come in, not just from the profound heaven world, but also from other worlds. It was inevitable that they would find each other displeasing to the eye. They would want to form groups or something. He was not interested in that. "All right, record the coordinates. If we can't find the place when we come out, we'll be in trouble if we get trapped here." Zhu Juyun reminded Night Sorrow. "I've placed a soul crystal ball there. It can sense it. I really want to set up a large array. When the people from the South Sky Dynasty come in, we can activate it and kill them directly. However, it will take too much time," Night Sorrow said. "There's no point in fighting with them now. Let's go look for opportunities first. If we can get the 10,000 boundless longevity fruit, then we'll be the biggest winner," Zhu Juyun said. "Then let's go." Night Sorrow's soul power wrapped around Zhu Juyun and flew out of the space-time treasure pagoda. At the same time, he let the 9 domain sources help him sense if there were any spirit stones or ores. As for the medicinal herbs, he would have to search for them himself. Zhu Juyun used his method. His main body stayed with Night Sorrow while his doppelganger was a distance away. This way, he could search a wider area and reap more rewards. "Juyun, take a look at this Fey illustration handbook. You won't miss anything this way." Night Sorrow handed his Fey illustration handbook to Zhu Juyun and started searching ahead. The last time people from the human world entered the No territory was 90,000 years ago. Now that the resources had recovered to their peak, 90,000 years was enough. Night Sorrow collected materials as he moved forward. There were too many high-grade medicinal herbs. Zhu Juyun followed Night Sorrow and studied the Fey illustration handbook. Night Sorrow and Zhu Juyun searched for materials as they moved forward. If there were any monster beasts that were causing trouble, Zhu Juyun would take care of them. This is a treasure trove of resources. Even if we don't talk about the 10,000 boundless longevity fruit, it's still worth it to come here, Night Sorrow said after collecting a few Saint King grade medicinal herbs. Yes, the opportunities in the great world are better than those in our small world, Zhu Juyun also sighed. Hee, the risks are relatively higher. There are no Saint Kings in the small world. Here, King Realm cultivators are the big shots, Night Sorrow said with a smile. I found some special herbs. The spirit chi is very rich, but I don't recognize them. Let's go and take a look, Zhu Juyun said. Her soul doppelganger had found something good. Under Zhu Juyun's lead, Night Sorrow came to the place where Zhu Juyun's soul doppelganger found the treasure. Speak. Chapter 9. Chapter 988. What a treasure! This is spiritual root grass, a king-grade material. It can improve one's cultivation aptitude. In the words of alchemists, it can change one's spiritual root. Even a mediocre person can become an excellent seedling for cultivation after eating the Yun Spirit Pill, Night Sorrow said excitedly. Night Sorrow would not have recognized such a rare herb if he had not come to the Tianding Gate. He had read about it in the alchemy book that old Xiang had given him. There are more than 10 of them. This is a good harvest, Zhu Juyun said. He felt a sense of accomplishment. Let's go back. After we deal with them, we will share the resources with you, Night Sorrow said. He was also very happy. This was a great opportunity. No need. You can just let me have a taste of the good pills you refine. I will also change my aptitude. Zhu Juyun shook her head. Zhu Juyun shook her head. She was not a greedy person. She knew very well that if Yi Shang did not bring her along, she would not even be qualified to enter. If she did not follow Yi Shang, she would be courting death. Okay. I am not a person who treats you badly. I will take care of your cultivation resources in the future, Night Sorrow said as he put away the spiritual root grass. I have already joined the Medicine Valley and followed you. It is not right for you to treat me badly, Zhu Juyun said with a smile. Am I a coolie? Night Sorrow said as he put away the spiritual root grass. You should be content. Zhu Juyun glared at Night Sorrow. Then, the two continued to move forward at a fast speed. When a cultivator reached the Saint King realm, their soul power would be very strong and could cover a large area. After moving forward for 2 days, Night Sorrow stopped because the 9 regions origin bead had pointed in a direction. The spiritual energy there was rich and there might be a mineral vein. When they arrived at the place where the 9 regions origin bead was enlightening, Night Sorrow began to dig down while Zhu Juyun was on guard. After digging 5 to 6 meters, Yi Shang saw spirit stones, and they were of very high quality. You're too awesome. To think that you would be able to discover a spiritual stone mine. We're going to strike it rich. Zhu Juyun exclaimed excitedly. After all, a spiritual stone mine represented a large amount of spiritual stones. All right, let your doppelganger stand guard. Hurry up and get down to work. We need to get more spirit stones. The space-time treasure pagoda's time acceleration requires a large amount of spirit stones, Night Sorrow shouted upwards. Hearing Night Sorrow's call, Zhu Juyun came down to help Night Sorrow dig. The spirit stone vein was very large, which meant that it was a mature spirit stone vein. The level and quantity of spirit stones that Night Sorrow had excavated before were much higher. Night Sorrow and Zhu Juyun were like rats as they dug underground. After Night Sorrow stored the high-grade spirit stones into a storage ring, he put the rest into the space-time treasure pagoda. Night Sorrow and Zhu Juyun dug out the supreme-grade spirit stones and threw them into their storage rings. However, Zhu Juyun only took a portion of it. She meant that it was fine as long as they had some resources. It wasn't easy for Night Sorrow to support such a large family. Zhu Juyun was very clear that Night Sorrow had paid a huge price for the cultivation of the people of the 9-domain world. After digging for half a day, Night Sorrow had filled up a few storage rings with supreme-grade spirit stones. We're not far from the central region of the spiritual stone mine. There should be holy spirit stones. Then what are we waiting for? We need to have a lot of resources. Only then will we have enough confidence. We have to make a name for ourselves in the heaven mystic world, Zhu Juyun said. Night Sorrow nodded. He didn't expect Zhu Juyun to have such a strong sense of the big picture. She had a strong sense of collective pride. After digging for a while, Night Sorrow and Zhu Juyun really dug out holy spirit stones. Haha, there's at least 300 to 400 pieces. This is great. When they reached the center of the mine, Yi Shang smiled, because the amount was truly delightful. One had to know that the Tiannan Majestic Empire had only asked the boundless world for a few hundred Saint Spirit stones, which was still quite painful. Zhu Juyun only took a small amount symbolically, and asked Night Sorrow to keep the rest. The two of them used an entire day to clean up the spiritual stone mine. Other than spirit stones and holy spirit stones, Night Sorrow also dug out a lot of attribute crystals. While the two of them were drinking tea in the mine, Zhu Juyin stood up. Not good, we're surrounded by demonic beasts. At this time, Night Sorrow's soul power also sensed the situation. His soul power sensed that many lizards covered in green light had appeared. They're Saint-level lizards. There are also a few Saint King-level lizards. 2 peak Saint Kings are leading the group. What the hell is going on? Night Sorrow cursed. The group of green light lizards was very strong. They're all lizards. There's no point in fighting. Let's run. Zhu Juyun's expression changed. This was a lot of pressure for her. Don't resist. Night Sorrow did not plan to fight. The truth was just as Zhu Juyun said. There was no point in fighting. After putting Zhu Juyun and her doppelganger into the space-time pagoda, Night Sorrow directly used the spatial fissure to enter the spatial turbulence. Then he shuttled through the spatial turbulence. However, the group of green light scorpions also moved. The peak Saint King level Scorpion King and Scorpion Queen also tore through space and entered the spatial turbulence to pursue Night Sorrow. At this time, Night Sorrow's attribute advantage was shown. The green light scorpions were of the wind attribute and were good at speed. However, Night Sorrow displayed the spatial attribute in the spatial turbulence and was faster. The spatial turbulence in a spatial world was not much of a threat to Saint Kings. It only affected their speed. Night Sorrow wanted to use this factor to affect his speed. After a while, he pulled away from the 2 scorpions. They could no longer catch up. Moreover, their energy consumption was much greater than Night Sorrow's. Night Sorrow's attribute was somewhat similar to the spatial turbulence, so his energy consumption was smaller. Even though the Scorpion King and Scorpion Queen were of the wind attribute, there was no comparison. After shaking off the Scorpion King and Scorpion Queen's pursuit, Night Sorrow exited the spatial turbulence. Then he sent Zhu Juyun out of the space-time pagoda. His V was the same as his V. I shook you off. Your legs are fast. You have a huge advantage here. It doesn't matter if you can't beat them. It's fine as long as you can run, Zhu Juyun said with a smile. It's not that we can't beat them. Didn't you also say that it's meaningless for us to kill the scorpions? Night Sorrow looked at Zhu Juyun and said, it's meaningless. I saw that even the Scorpion King with the wind attribute peak Saint King cultivation couldn't catch up to you. I'm confident, Zhu Juyun said with a smile. We're not afraid of encountering Saint King opponents. We can fight. Even if there are many opponents, we can still run. What we need to be careful of are the king-level existences. That's the most dangerous, Night Sorrow said. Zhu Juyun nodded. She and Night Sorrow had studied the information together. Naturally, she knew that there were 3 Kings in the boundless territory. Night Sorrow would most likely encounter these 3 Kings if he wanted to obtain the 10,000 longevity boundless fruit. After that, Night Sorrow and Zhu Juyun continued to explore. As they advanced, they collected materials. However, after experiencing the encirclement of the scorpions, the 2 of them became more cautious. After all, the boundless territory was too terrifying. Night Sorrow and Zhu Juyun entered the boundless territory first. Old Xiang was happy because he had avoided some trouble. However, the people from the Tiannan Empire didn't think so. They were very angry. This was equivalent to losing the opportunity to deal with Night Sorrow. Baidu the Myriad Dao into Expression book and read it for free. Chapter 989. Everyone wanted to enter the No Dominion first, but it depended on their own strength. They tore the space apart and found it difficult to enter based on the distance. They had to wait for the 2 worlds to get closer. Half a month had passed, and the No Dominion had moved to the middle of the Firmament world and the Tianxian world. Due to the pull of the 2 worlds, it would stabilize for more than a year before passing through the Firmament world and the Tianxian world. At this time, everyone who wanted to enter the No Weave had already entered. Elder Xiang didn't leave. He was worried that Yi Shang would be ambushed by the Tiannan Empire's troops when he returned. The Saint Ruler aside, Elder Xiang was worried about the Tiannan Empire's emperor's hidden hand. It was not that Elder Xiang was overthinking, but Yuan Qianba was already here. If he was here, Yuan Qianba would be obedient. If he was not here, then you and Qianba would not be able to do anything. Night Sorrow and Zhu Juyun explored the area and collected materials for refining elixirs and weapons. No one fought with them, so they were very free. Night Sorrow, Zhu Juyun, and her doppelganger searched a large area. They were practically dragging a net forward. According to Night Sorrow's suggestion, they walked back and forth a few times. Those who came later would have to wait. Read. Novel Night Sorrow. I didn't expect you to be so evil. Are you letting those who came later work for nothing? Zhu Juyun now felt the pain of being Night Sorrow's opponent. How can you say that? Am I evil? We're all here for opportunities. They need opportunities and so do I. Whoever gets the opportunity and resources is the one with the ability, Night Sorrow said. Maybe you're right. After thinking for a while, Zhu Juyun felt that Night Sorrow's reasoning made sense. Cultivators were fighting against the heavens. Who wouldn't fight for opportunities when there were opportunities? Let's not get too close to the center for now. Let's search in circles first and then slowly move toward the center. Night Sorrow said his idea. The center of the No Dominion was the most dangerous area. There was still time. Before others arrived, it was best to get as much as possible. Zhu Juyun was a smart person. He immediately understood what Night Sorrow meant. He followed Night Sorrow and began to search the area. Time slowly passed. Yi Shang and Zhu Jiuyun collected a lot of materials. They could sense the alchemy materials, but the 9 regions' origins could sense the blacksmithing materials in a much larger area than Shao Kong's. With regards to their harvest, Night Sorrow was very satisfied. Because it was very difficult to obtain king-grade materials in the profound sky world. The two of them had collected quite a lot. Jiuyin, why don't you take the materials and leave first? I'll search the central area, Night Sorrow said. You're worried about the danger, so you want me to retreat first, Zhu Juyun said as he looked at Night Sorrow. There's king in the middle area. It's very dangerous. Yi Shang directly told the truth. I have to say that you have always been considerate of the people around you. But since we came in together, we can either go out together or go in together, Zhu Juyun said. Actually, it's a very wise choice for us to retreat now. But I can't. Night Sorrow shook his head. Why not? It's fine as long as there's an opportunity. There's no need to be so obsessed. Zhu Juyun was a bit puzzled. Night Sorrow wasn't a greedy person. I want the 10,000 lifespan limitless fruit. My father's cultivation talent is low, and he even lost an arm because of me. The 10,000 lifespan limitless fruit can change that. I don't want to see my father slowly grow old. I can't bear it, said Yi Shang. What's your relationship with Father Gu? Is it worth it for you to risk your life for him? Zhu Juyun asked. She knew a bit about Night Sorrow, but she wasn't very clear about the relationship between Night Sorrow and Father Gu. She had been in seclusion all these years. Foster father is the one who brought me up. It wasn't easy for him. So if I have the chance, I have to work hard for him. There's no need for you to risk your life with me. I'll send you back. Night Sorrow told Zhu Juyun about his past with Father Gu before making his decision. I'll accompany you this once. I admire your attitude. If you want to risk your life, then so be it. Zhu Juyun smiled. Although she was smiling, she was touched. She had only seen Night Sorrow's bright and hard-working side. She had never seen Night Sorrow's difficult and bitter side. All right. As long as I'm alive, I won't leave you behind in the limitless longevity region. Let's go. Night Sorrow tossed Zhu Juyun a jug of wine. When they encountered trouble and didn't want to fight, Night Sorrow's soul power would wrap around Zhu Juyun and run. When they encountered a single monster beast, Night Sorrow would kill it. I really regret it. I regret my wrong decision. Those underworld kings of the netherworld fell one by one. If only they could fight with me now. Zhu Juyun sighed. If they didn't fall, you wouldn't have made such a choice. Perhaps this is fate. Night Sorrow said. In fact, if the underworld kings of the 9 regions world weren't killed, Zhu Juyun wouldn't have chosen to compromise. You're right. Perhaps this is fate. If I could enter the Saint King realm earlier, I wouldn't have ended up like this. Zhu Juyun really believed in fate. She had entered the Saint King realm a few years later, but the results were completely different. Fortunately, the current situation in the netherworld was good. This was what she was most gratified about. Night Sorrow studied the map as he advanced. He was very grateful to Old Xiang. The maps he bought in Big Dipper City and other places were all written records. The maps of the limitless longevity region were very precious. Although the map didn't have the exact location of the three kings, Night Sorrow could roughly circle the location by comparing them with the notes. Night Sorrow's target was the King Kong's territory that occupied the 10,000 limitless longevity fruits. Other than the two of us, no one else would provoke a king, Zhu Jiyun said. Haha. That's not necessarily true. There are many crazy people. If they gamble with their lives, they'll make a fortune. Night Sorrow said with a smile. You're the crazy kind of person. However, I know you've made a lot of preparations. You even use poison. You don't do things that you're not confident in. So I'm very confident. Zhu Jiyun said. I'm confident in other things, but this time, I'm really not. You know what a king is? The notes recorded 90,000 years ago. It was a king 90,000 years ago. It's hard to say how strong he is now. Night Sorrow glanced at Zhu Jiyun and said, Don't scare me. I haven't lived long enough. Zhu Jiyun was stunned when she heard Night Sorrow's words. I'm not trying to scare you. I'm just stating a fact. Besides, you sound as if I've lived long enough. If I knew you were so talkative, I wouldn't have brought you along. Night Sorrow glanced at Zhu Jiyun and continued moving forward. You're too heartless. I didn't risk my life in the Tiannan dynasty's massacre because I was in the Heavenly Cauldron sect. The Medicine Valley was weak, and I didn't give you any face. Are you going to scold me just because you want to? Zhu Jiyun chased after Yi Shang with some dissatisfaction. It was a kind of light relaxation to complete the promise after the battle. Thank you for everyone's support. Thank you for the doctor's strength pills, the legendary essential oil, and the unsealing of UK-45. Baidu Myriad DAOs into Expression Book, to read for free. Chapter 990. Night Sorrow knew that Zhu Jiyun was indeed a good person. Ever since she had submitted to him, she no longer had any other thoughts. She was really working hard on the 9-domain world. When Zhu Jiyun caught up, Night Sorrow stopped. Jiyun, this won't do. My doppelganger isn't afraid of dying. Your doppelganger isn't afraid either. But it's not suitable for your original body to follow. Then what should we do? Zhu Jiyun knew that Night Sorrow was worried about her. The death of the doppelganger wasn't scary. What was scary was the death of the original body. How about this? Your doppelganger will follow me, and your original body will follow behind us. This way it'll be much safer. Night Sorrow said. All right, I'll follow your arrangement. I think it'll be much safer this way, Zhu Jiyun said. Then Night Sorrow and Zhu Jiyun continued to move forward. However, Zhu Jiyun's doppelganger and her original body followed behind, maintaining a safe distance for them to retreat. The materials continued to flow into Night Sorrow's pockets. Zhu Jiyun was also very excited because it felt good to have a harvest. At night, the two of them would set up camp and rest. Night Sorrow didn't like to kill casually, but Zhu Jiyun didn't mind. She would roast some meat or something. Night Sorrow held the map and tried to figure out the general direction of the 10,000 limitless fruit. Before entering, there were still some mistakes. Maybe we'll be lucky and find the 10,000 limitless fruit without encountering any king-level demonic beasts. Then we'll be done, Zhu Jiyun said. You're thinking too much. That's impossible. Other materials might be produced in many places, but rare treasures like the 10,000 limitless fruit won't. Night Sorrow said. Zhu Jiyun thought for a while and nodded. She was just saying it casually. The possibility was indeed very low. Some rare treasures would be guarded by demonic beasts from the moment they were born. These demonic beasts were also called guardians. How's your main body's cultivation going? When can you enter the king's realm? Once you enter the king's realm, we from the 9-domain world will have a backer and a stable footing. Zhu Jiyun looked at Night Sorrow, who was studying the map, and asked. That's the king realm, not the spirit-severing realm or the void inquiry stage. Don't you know that there aren't many king realm experts in the heaven profound world? Night Sorrow glared at Zhu Juyun. Who are you? You are the realm lord of the 9 regions world, the profound mysteries realm, and the nether realm. You are the most outstanding talent in the 3 realms. Of course you can. Zhu Juyun flattered Night Sorrow. Alright, you win. I've found an opportunity to comprehend the will of space. I'll need some time. Night Sorrow looked at Zhu Juyun. He didn't want to disappoint Zhu Juyun, so he nodded and explained his situation. Looking at Night Sorrow, Zhu Juyun was stunned. I'm just encouraging you. You really have to find the opportunity to break through. Night Sorrow looked at Zhu Juyun and didn't say anything. It was because Zhu Juyun's words were very infuriating. Night Sorrow, everyone has high hopes for you. You are the pride of our group. If you become a king realm expert, you will be the realm lord of a world. It can be said that you can steadily support an organization. You are still young. It's possible for you to become a monarch realm expert. Zhu Juyun looked at Night Sorrow and said sincerely, a monarch realm expert? What is a monarch realm expert? Night Sorrow asked curiously, don't you know what a monarch realm expert is? Zhu Juyun looked at Night Sorrow in surprise. She felt that Night Sorrow should know about it. After that, Zhu Juyun explained it to Night Sorrow. Every world had its own rules and regulations that everyone had to abide by. This formed order, and the monarch was the one who made and managed this order. Monarchs were usually at the peak of the king realm. They were true powerhouses. For example, anyone who attacked a realm transfer array would die. This was because this was the rule set by the monarch. If a battle was fought to the death, the monarch wouldn't care. However, attacking a realm transfer array was a challenge to his dignity and prestige. There was no doubt that he would be killed. How do you know so much? There are monarchs in the profound sky world? Night Sorrow asked. When you were refining pills and refining weapons, I went to various cities. That's why I know a little. There is only one monarch in the profound sky world, and that is the profound sky monarch. He is the founding emperor of the profound sky dynasty, Zhu Juyun said. That is after countless years of accumulation. You have to know how long the profound sky dynasty has been around. Millions of years? Tens of millions of years? It can be said that without the accumulation of time, it is impossible to reach this height. Night Sorrow nodded. He knew a little about the profound sky dynasty. It was the #1 power in the profound sky world, and it was much stronger than the Tiannan dynasty. Zhu Juyun didn't say anything else. This was the truth. Without the accumulation of time, it was impossible to reach this height. Furthermore, if the other king realms showed signs of reaching this realm, the monarchs might take action. After all, a mountain couldn't have 2 tigers. Of course, the monarchs couldn't completely control it. Those who could cultivate to the king realm weren't fools. If there was a possibility of reaching the peak of the king realm, they would find a place to cultivate. They wouldn't come out until they reached the peak of the king realm. If they came out, they would be monarchs. Original chapters and chapters and chapters. After resting for a night, Night Sorrow continued forward with Zhu Juyun. Since they had entered the No-Weave region, which was a treasure trove of resources, Night Sorrow naturally had to do some accumulation. At this time, some of the people who had entered the No-Weave region were very angry, including the Tiannan dynasty's Shang Zhengchun. This time, the Tiannan dynasty had sent a team of 7 Saint Kings, 3 of whom were peak Saint Kings. Shang Zhengchun was angry because he found many traces of resources being taken. Only Night Sorrow and Zhu Juyun, who had entered first, could do this. Third Prince, don't be upset. We'll just kill that guy, a man said. He was Yuan Han from the Yuan clan of the Tiannan dynasty, the eldest son of Yuan Qianba. He was a peak Saint King with strong combat ability. He was also arranged by Shang Tianfeng, who didn't want Shang Zhengchun to be in danger when he entered the No-Weave region. Yes, kill him, and then the materials he took will be ours. Prince, we can send people to wait for him, another man said. Alright, Saint King Lin, you're a saint-level array master. Go back to the space barrier region and set up a big formation. When others enter and leave, don't activate the formation. When you see Night Sorrow, that bastard, come out, activate the formation. Even if you can't kill him, you have to trap him and not let him out, Shang Zhengchun said. I understand. I'll go now, Saint King Lin said. He was a member of the Lin clan of the Tiannan dynasty. It wasn't just Shang Zhengchuan's group that was annoyed. The people who entered after them were also annoyed. Before they entered, Yi Shan and Zhu Juyin had pulled the net back and forth several times, leaving them in a mess. Chapter 991. Cultivators had a long lifespan, and most of their time was spent on cultivation. Cultivation required resources. Without resources, one's cultivation would increase slowly, and it would be difficult for one to reach a higher level. Night Sorrow's goal was to improve himself, and resources were an indispensable part of this. For example, in the king's realm, if one comprehended from 10% to 20% willpower, one's realm would increase. This was the two-star king's realm. To catch up and improve one's cultivation required a large amount of resources. Night Sorrow knew how difficult it was to reach the Saint King's realm. It was 10 times harder than reaching the Saint King's realm, and even 100 times harder than reaching the Supreme Realm. One could imagine that in the King's realm, even if one comprehended willpower and reached a certain realm, it would be extremely difficult for one's cultivation to catch up. Resources were the key. Night Sorrow's soul power was much stronger than Zhu Juyun's, and the 9 regions' origin could explore a wider area. Therefore, he could collect more resources. It could be said that wherever Night Sorrow went, the 9 regions' origin would be swept clean. Not even low-level materials were left behind. Many people had the same idea as Night Sorrow. They would not go directly to the central region. Many people did not even want to go to the central region. The reason was simple. They were afraid of death, and they came here to collect resources. Those who were lucky enough to reach the side that Night Sorrow and Zhu Juyin did not go to might have some gains. However, those who followed Night Sorrow and Zhu Juyin had nothing to gain. 3 months later, Night Sorrow met other cultivators. He knew that they were cultivators from the firmament world. After all, there was more than one place to enter. At least half of the cultivators from the firmament world who could enter the No Dominion came from the firmament world. When he met Night Sorrow, he did not hide. He was not afraid of fighting, but he would not take the initiative to kill. After becoming the realm lord of the 9 regions world, Night Sorrow had some understanding of karma. Every living being had a reason to exist. Casually taking away a living being's right to live was against the laws of heaven. However, not everyone had such a realization. Night Sorrow didn't want to fight, but others did. Seeing Night Sorrow and Zhu Juyun, only Night Sorrow was a peak stage Saint King, some people chose to attack. High-level cultivators were also equivalent to resources. Killing people to seize resources was also a way to accumulate resources. Against enemies and opponents, Night Sorrow would never show mercy. He did not fear anyone other than the king. 2 peak stage Saint Kings were killed by Night Sorrow in a short while. Their name is Thousand Mile Escort. How interesting. Zhu Juyin did not make a move because the 2 of them did not think highly of her. They wanted to kill Night Sorrow first. I had no choice. I didn't want to take the initiative to kill, but they didn't hold back. Night Sorrow said helplessly after taking the storage rings and weapons of the 2 peak stage Saint Kings. They're blind. What can I do? Zhu Juyin said with a smile. She could only say that the 2 of them had a hard life. The main reason was that Night Sorrow himself was a big trap. He was too deceptive. After reaching the level of Saint King, everyone's age was no longer a secret. Just a casual glance would be enough to figure out a rough estimate. Night Sorrow's age was too young in the level of Saint King, and many times, age represented battle prowess. Battle prowess depended on experience and battle techniques. Cultivators who had lived for a long time had plenty of experience, and their battle techniques were almost fixed. Young age meant that they had less experience and fewer battles. Of course, this was not absolute. Night Sorrow was a typical example. He was the only genuine one, and the others were stolen copies. Night Sorrow did not say anything. He was a little emotional. This was the world where the strong preyed on the weak. It could be said that the strong were respected. This was the law of the heavens. Night Sorrow then collected the 2 Saint Crystals and continued forward. However, he discovered that the high-level cultivators really did not have any high-level attribute crystals. They were all ordinary attribute saint crystals. It was just as Wu Lingfei had said, it was too difficult for high-level attribute cultivators to cultivate. Juyun, how many years have you been cultivating? How did you comprehend the high-level attribute laws? Night Sorrow asked as they continued forward. More than 2,000 years. I became a saint very early on, but I was unable to take the step to become a saint king. As for the comprehension of the laws, I comprehended it in the netherworld abyss. You also know that the source of the netherworld realm is there, Zhu Juyun said. Night Sorrow nodded. He knew that the netherworld abyss was indeed the place where the laws of death were the strongest. As the two chatted, Night Sorrow was also constantly collecting herbs. He had a storage ring in his storage ring, so he could store as many resources as he wanted and take them away. Zhu Juyun really admired Night Sorrow, because Night Sorrow's ability to collect resources was extremely strong. He could even find resources far away from Night Sorrow. Time passed. The no-weave was very large, and the chances of encountering cultivators were not high. However, Night Sorrow still killed a few groups of people who wanted to attack him. This was equivalent to several groups of people helping him collect resources. Every Saint King he killed was a peak Saint King. They had come to the no-weave with a great harvest. Your combat ability is strong, so you have a much greater advantage over others in collecting resources. It's like they're all helping you, Zhu Juyun said. As you can see, I'm not the one who wants to kill and rob. They're the ones who want to kill us. Do you think it makes no sense for me to hide and run when they want to kill me? Night Sorrow looked at Zhu Juyun. That's not what I meant. I just feel that it's a little strange. Not many people can tell who's the prey and who's the hunter. You're too deceptive. Everyone who sees you wants to attack you. Of course, I'm just a decoration. They almost don't attack me, Zhu Juyun said. Haha, they can't bear to attack you. Didn't that group of people just now say that they want to kill me and then take you back to be some Saint King's concubine? Night Sorrow said with a laugh. Don't mention it. They're too disgusting. Zhu Juyun looked at Night Sorrow with some annoyance. The peak Saint King who was killed by Night Sorrow had indeed said that. Night Sorrow smiled and did not say anything. He knew that although Zhu Juyun had not reached the level of a peak Saint King, the pride in his heart was not something an ordinary Saint King could compare to. Even a peak Saint King could not compare to Zhu Juyun. Zhu Juyun was once the leader of the Nether Realm, and had always been giving orders. He had a certain king's aura. As for the Saint Kings who came from the large world, they all grew up in fear. They lacked a kind of aura that made them feel like they could do anything. They really can't do it. They like to hunt down the weak, and they like to kill together. This is a manifestation of their lack of confidence. It's very difficult to comprehend the will of the heavens. If they can succeed, they'll be like that, Night Sorrow said. He also looked down on this group of peak Saint Kings who did not even dare to fight alone. This has something to do with comprehending the will of the heavens, Zhu Juyun said. Of course it has something to do with it. The will of the heavens is strong and domineering. If a cultivator doesn't even have confidence, it's unrealistic to talk about comprehending the will of the heavens. Perhaps those who can see this are King Realm cultivators. After all, there's a difference in levels, Night Sorrow said. Those who can see it are King Realm cultivators. What about you? You're a King Realm cultivator. Zhu Juyun looked at Night Sorrow with disdain. Speak. Chapter 992. I'm not, but I'm almost there. The only thing I lack is time, Night Sorrow said as he looked at Zhu Juyun. Hey, why don't I understand what you mean? Zhu Juyun's body flashed to block Night Sorrow's path. I already have a clue, but I'm still trying to figure it out, Night Sorrow said as he dodged Zhu Juyun, who had almost crashed into him. Very good. You're ruthless. You're really heaven-defying. You've only cultivated for less than 100 years in the real world. You're a genius if you can become a sage within 100 years. Even becoming a sage is an unimaginable achievement. I can't describe your current situation, Zhu Juyun said emotionally. It was not that she wanted to be emotional, but Night Sorrow's efficiency was too shocking. The harder you work, the luckier you get. I believe that as long as you're willing to work hard, you can cultivate and achieve something, Knight Sorrow said as he continued moving forward. Zhu Juyin wanted to say that it was easy for Yishang to say that. Cultivators who did not work hard were rare. Most people worked very hard, but it was too difficult for them to achieve anything. There were all kinds of factors that prevented them from moving forward. Additionally, Zhu Juyin admired Knight Sorrow's mentality. Knight Sorrow was able to remain calm. No matter what materials he collected, he did not feel happy or sad. After half a year, Knight Sorrow and Zhu Juyin returned to the starting point of the no-weave zone. Juyun, why don't you return to the 9 regions world first? We're going to the central area of the no-weave zone, Knight Sorrow said as he looked at Zhu Juyin. I won't go out first. My main body will find a place to cultivate. My clone will go with you, Zhu Juyin said. Knight Sorrow thought about it and agreed. That's a good idea. However, you have to hide your main body well. Don't let anyone find you. Zhu Juyin then smiled and told Knight Sorrow not to worry. Her main body had a spatial divine item. If she hid it, no one would find it easily. Only then did Knight Sorrow relax. He then led Zhu Juyin's doppelganger towards the center of No Weave. Knight Sorrow's target was King Kong King's territory. The closer they got to the center of the No territory, the more battles they encountered. All kinds of demonic beasts emerged one after another, and they were all high-level demonic beasts. I just don't understand. How can there be so many high-level demonic beasts in the No Weave region? And none of them can transform. Knight Sorrow was a little puzzled. The reason why we can produce high-level monsters is very simple. The conditions here are good. Furthermore, the level of civilization here is low. Therefore, there are no cultivation techniques or seniors to guide us. We might as well cultivate in our beast form, Zhu Juyin said. Knight Sorrow felt the same way. If this place had a high level of civilization, then there wouldn't be such an abundance of elixir materials and refining materials. The No territory had a radius of 10 million miles. It was only 5 million miles to the center. Knight Sorrow and Zhu Juyin, who were high-level and peak holy kings, didn't need much time. However, the two of them couldn't advance directly. After all, they had to collect materials along the way. The closer they were to the center, the higher the grade of the materials. There were battles all the time. The demonic beasts might coexist peacefully, but if cultivators entered, they would feel that they were intruders. Therefore, they would fight to the death. Knight Sorrow didn't want to take the initiative to kill, but he couldn't kill all of them. Zhu Juyin would attack whenever there were demonic beasts fighting. It was also a form of training for her. As they got closer to the designated area, Knight Sorrow also felt the oppressive aura. The demonic beasts here were very well behaved. Even when they attacked Knight Sorrow and Zhu Juyin, they fought silently. After advancing for a while, there were no more demonic beasts. Demonic beasts that could cultivate were intelligent. Some places weren't suitable for them to stay, so they naturally had to leave. First, this made Knight Sorrow know that they were getting closer to their destination. Knight Sorrow and Zhu Juyin advanced carefully. They also noticed the traces of battle. Knight Sorrow, are there other people in the center? Zhu Juyin asked. It seems like there are really people here. Those who dare to come here aren't simple. They wouldn't dare to come if they weren't confident, Knight Sorrow said. Zhu Juyin nodded. She understood that no one was a fool. Those who dared to come here had some confidence. Knight Sorrow's confidence came from his own strength, strong defense, and fast speed. As for his attack, no matter how strong it was not worth mentioning in front of a King Realm expert. We have to be careful. Don't get killed before we see the limitless longevity fruit, Zhu Juyin said. Don't jinx it. Can't you think of something better? Knight Sorrow glared at Zhu Juyin. As they advanced, Knight Sorrow saw cultivators. However, they were all in large groups. Knight Sorrow had never seen some of them before. He knew that they had entered from the Sky Dome realm, because he had an impression of almost everyone who had entered from the Sky Dome realm. This situation made Knight Sorrow very shocked. He knew that it would be more difficult to obtain the limitless longevity fruit. Not only was it because of the internal factors of the limitless domain, but the competition between cultivators from the outside was also very intense. A saint king's lifespan was 10,000 years. Some peak saints had cultivated for thousands of years. There were many who were close to 10,000 years. If they couldn't enter the king realm, they would die. Therefore, it was normal for them to risk their lives. Of course, some special life forms could break through this limit. Why didn't they attack us? Zhu Juyin asked. Because they don't want to cause trouble. This place is very close to the core region. If some uncontrollable battle happens, it won't be good for anyone. It might happen in a situation where no one is prepared, and it would incur the wrath of the king. Then no one would have a good ending, Night Sorrow said. After hearing Night Sorrow's words, Zhu Juyin nodded. He understood the logic behind it. Every peak saint king had something that they were good at. Once a battle started, if they couldn't complete a quick kill, escaping or even self-destructing would cause some negative consequences. This was something that no one wanted to see. Basically, everyone who came here was here for the limitless longevity fruit. Juyun, the Sky Dome realm's level is higher than the Sky Dome realm. Look at their group. They are all groups of peak saint kings, Night Sorrow said. That's right. When I went out for a walk, I heard the discussions of the cultivators in the tavern. The Sky Dome realm is indeed strong. They have conquered many subsidiary realms, and even have 2 sovereigns. This shows how strong the Sky Dome realm is, Zhu Jian said. After we get the limitless longevity fruit, we should also go to the Sky Dome realm when we have time and broaden our horizons, Night Sorrow said. There are 2 sovereigns in the Sky Dome realm. They are the Blue Cloud Sovereign and the No Beginning Sovereign. The Blue Cloud Sovereign founded the Blue Cloud sect, and has a dominant position in the Sky Dome realm. The publicly recognized strongest sovereign is the No Beginning Sovereign. He has taken in 11 disciples. 3 of them are very strong cultivators in the king realm. He walks the path of elites, Zhu Juyin said to Night Sorrow. They are all experts. It's just that their choices are different, Night Sorrow nodded. However, he liked the No Beginning Sovereign style. There are many dangers in the outside world. It's also very exciting. Zhu Juyin still had some restlessness in his bones. Speak. The 3rd update arrived. Originally, there was an announcement. However, from today onwards, there will be no updates. There are too many things to do and the pressure is great. There are also too many things to do. I also need to make some adjustments to my life. However, the Great Demon King and K4, as well as the Legend of Bai, have rewards. Today, I will add a little more to the basic reward. However, it won't be too much. Chapter 993. We still don't have the strength to challenge the outside world. Perhaps to others a high-level Saint King or a peak Saint King is enough. However, they have a backer, a sect, and a high status. Some problems can be solved by their seniors. We can only rely on ourselves for now. Night Sorrow said. I understand what you mean. If you work hard, you will be our backer in the future. Zhu Juyin said. I want to, but the main thing is whether I can. In this world, as long as you don't offend the most, anyone can deal with you if they see you as an eyesore. They don't need a reason. It's enough as long as they are stronger than you. Zhu Juyin nodded. She knew that whether it was her or Night Sorrow, they both needed time. If they had enough time and were not targeted by others, they would have the possibility of rising up. Although Zhu Juyin felt that she could not compare to Night Sorrow, she did not think that she was worse than others. What a cultivator could not lack the most was confidence. Just like what Night Sorrow said, those peak saints did not even have the courage to fight one-on-one. They lived under the nose of others. Naturally, they lacked confidence and lived in fear. Night Sorrow led the way. If there were resources, he would collect them. He wanted to accumulate more resources for himself, so that he could cultivate in peace in the future. It could even be said that he could only come out when he had some achievements. That way he could avoid a lot of danger. There were almost no demonic beasts blocking the way. Night Sorrow and Zhu Jian only needed to be careful not to be ambushed by other cultivators. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. After walking for a while, Night Sorrow looked at the map and changed direction. It was true that they were heading towards the central region of the No Weave. However, that was the most dangerous region, the Silver Scorpion King's territory. The Silver Scorpion King was very strong in all aspects. Furthermore, it was proficient in poison. Rashly entering it would be a dead end. Zhu Juyun's clone followed Night Sorrow quietly, and did not disturb Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow was still collecting materials as they advanced. Zhu Juyun followed beside Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow, we are going in a different direction from the others. Night Sorrow nodded with a smile. They are advancing towards the central region. And the central region is Silver Scorpion King's territory. If they charge in, there is only one outcome, and that is death. It's a good thing that they are unlucky. As long as they don't ruin our plans, Zhu Juyun said. I have the map, so I'm part of the group that knows better. If I don't understand the situation, then I'm just trying my luck, Night Sorrow said. After advancing for half a day, just as Night Sorrow was collecting materials, a man in green clothes appeared. The man in green clothes had a very sharp aura and stood not far from Night Sorrow and Zhu Juyun. After collecting the materials, Night Sorrow looked at the man. Night Sorrow discovered that this man was not a Peak Saint King. He was between a Peak Saint King and a king. He was a half-step king. His aura and aura were the manifestation of wind attribute will. Night Sorrow stood in front of Zhu Juyun and looked at this man quietly. A half-step king was very strong. He could even look down on all Saint King realm cultivators. However, Night Sorrow was not afraid. When Gong Yang Lai was a 2-star king, he also dared to fight him. Leave this woman and her storage ring behind and you can scram. The man in green clothes looked at Night Sorrow and said coldly, Haha, I respect my opponents. In fact, I respect my life and death enemies. If they have quality and courage, I will respect them. But as soon as you open your mouth, it proves that you are trash. Night Sorrow sneered and the Space Splitter Spear appeared in his right hand. At this time, the Space Splitter Spear was no longer a high-rank spirit artifact, but a high-rank saint artifact. Night Sorrow had refined it after becoming a saint artifact refiner. Those who dared to call me Song Wuyue trash are all dead. You are no exception. The young man, Song Wuyue, took out a long sword. The long sword was surrounded by an azure light and sword chi shot out, leaving a deep ravine in the ground. Night Sorrow glanced at the long sword in Song Wuyue's hand. With a wave of his left arm, he put Zhu Juyun into the space-time pagoda. He knew that this battle would not be easy, so he did not want Song Wuyue to have any crooked thoughts and hurt Zhu Juyun. You will die today. No one dares to clamor with my Grey Cloud sect and me. Song Wuyue. Song Wuyue's body flashed and rushed forward. With a wave of the long sword in his hand, he slashed at Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow spread out the law of nothingness. He poured his nothingness true chi into the Space Splitter Spear, and thrust it at Song Wuyue's long sword. He was not careless at all, because he realized that the energy and will on Song Wuyue's long sword was very special. It was not the will of wind or sword intent of the will of heaven and earth, but it did contain two kinds. As the two weapons clashed, Night Sorrow retreated 6 feet, but Song Wuyue retreated even further. Song Wuyue's eyes were filled with shock. He had already grasped a little bit of the will of heaven and earth. Although he had not completely grasped it, and had not grasped 10% of it, he had still grasped it. However, under such circumstances he was actually at a disadvantage in a head-on clash. Night Sorrow had expected such an outcome. The supreme attribute law was not something that could be suppressed by a little bit of the will of heaven and earth. Back then, even the 2-star King's 20% sword intent had not been able to suppress him, let alone this Song Wuyue, who was inferior to Gong Yang Lai. Then the two of them started fighting. Song Wuyue's speed was very fast. Because he was of the wind attribute, the will of heaven and earth he had comprehended contained the sword intent of the wind attribute. Night Sorrow was at a disadvantage at first. Then he activated the energy of his innate bloodline to protect himself. He was evenly matched with Song Wuyue. It should be said that he had a slight advantage because Night Sorrow's attack power was high and his physical quality was strong. The two of them flashed and started fighting within a radius of 100 miles. Whenever either of them flashed, they would cover a distance of several miles. As a result, the battlefield was a mess. Night Sorrow and Song Wuyue were both very surprised. After witnessing Song Wuyue's speed, Night Sorrow knew that the elemental power enhanced by the will of heaven and earth was indeed powerful. Song Wuyue's speed was because his wind attribute energy was enhanced by the will of heaven and earth. Song Wuyue was also shocked by Night Sorrow's speed. Night Sorrow's speed was not enhanced by the will of heaven and earth, but he was still slightly faster than Song Wuyue. In addition, Night Sorrow's strength and attack power were also very terrifying. Every time their weapons clashed, his hands would become numb from the impact. It should be known that his attacks were also supported by sword intent. After fighting for half an hour, Night Sorrow growled and his attacks became more violent. At this time, Song Wuyue had already consumed a lot of energy, but he himself was still fine. Speak. Fourth update. Guaranteed update complete. A little later, I will update the legend of the Great Demon King, K4 and bye. Originally, I said that I would not update from today onwards, and the announcement was already made. However, the brothers rewarded me and I did not update. I felt that something was missing. Chapter 994. Song Wuyue felt that he had used up more than 30% of his cultivation, while Night Sorrow was still at his peak. Therefore he decided not to fight. Remember, my name is Song Wuyue. Don't let me see you again. Song Wuyue quickly attacked with 2 swords and left in a flash. Night Sorrow did not chase after him. In fact, he could have done so. He now had a little understanding of the will of space. However, if he used the will of heaven and earth to fight now, it would affect his main body's understanding of the will of heaven and earth. Song Wuyue was just a piece of trash. A piece of trash with no quality was not worth his time. Night Sorrow did not want to delay his main body's understanding of the will of heaven and earth just to kill trash. He felt that it was a loss. Then Night Sorrow let Jujuyin out. Part 1. Night Sorrow did not deactivate the Space-Time Pagoda's seal. Therefore, Zhu Juyin watched the entire battle between Night Sorrow and Song Wuyue. Looking at Night Sorrow, Zhu Juyin said, "I feel that you did not use your full strength." "Yes, it's because he's not worth it. He's not worth it for me to fight with my full strength. That's not worth it." Yishan didn't hide the reason why he hadn't fought Song Wuyue to the death. Indeed, the loss outweighs the gain. However, Song Wuyue has a great background. He is from the Grey Cloud sect. His surname is Tsang. It is very likely that he is the descendant of the Grey Cloud monarch. Zhu Juyin analyzed and said, "So what? I don't want to bother with him for now. If we meet again in the future, it will not be like today." Night Sorrow said. Zhu Juyin nodded. She knew that only Night Sorrow dared to say such things. The reason he could say such things was because he was the lord of the world. Night Sorrow was immortal. The deterrence of a monarch was indeed greatly reduced. Yes, that's right. Others might be afraid of him, but you really don't have to be. Try your best to protect your doppelganger. Even if it falls, you can just nourish it. You have the Space-Time Pagoda to speed things up. You have only been in the Space-Time Pagoda Tripod City for 100 years. Zhu Juyin said. You can't think of it that way. I do care about clones. My clones have 90% of my main body's combat power, but they require half of my main body's soul power. If I were to create more clones, it would be extremely harmful to my main body. I don't want to do something like that. Night Sorrow said. He had condensed 2 soul avatars, which had caused great damage to his soul. If not for the help of the Pagoda of Time and Space, Night Sorrow's soul would not have been able to recover to its perfect state. I'm just making an analogy. No one is willing to lose their avatar. Zhu Juyin nodded and agreed with Night Sorrow's point. I'm very sorry for destroying your spiritual doppelganger last time. Yishang apologized to Zhu Juyin in embarrassment. It's nothing. Back then we were on different sides. The cost of cultivating soul doppelganger is relatively small. Zhu Juyin shook her head. She knew that she could not blame Night Sorrow. Back then they were opponents. Naturally, she would do whatever she could to severely injure him. Her soul doppelganger being killed could only be attributed to her bad luck. It's good that you don't mind. Night Sorrow smiled and continued moving forward. Night Sorrow, you really have to be careful. You have 2 spatial sacred treasures on you. If your clones are lost and stolen, you'll be in big trouble. Zhu Juyin thought of another situation. That won't happen. There are some things you don't know. I have the 9 regions origin bead. If something happens to my clones, the 9 regions origin bead will take my storage ring and sacred treasures away. No one will benefit from it. Night Sorrow said. He had already prepared for this. Otherwise he would not have brought the 9 regions origin bead and the pagoda of time and space. He was confident. After listening to Night Sorrow's explanation, Zhu Juyin immediately understood that Night Sorrow had already made plans in his heart. He had already made full preparations in case something bad happened. As the two of them moved forward, they encountered fewer and fewer cultivators. After all, they were in a relatively remote area of the core area of the No Weave. Those who rushed over at this time probably had a map in their hands. Elder Xiang was a King Realm cultivator. If he could get a map, other King Realm cultivators would also be able to get a map for their juniors. In addition, the Monarch Realm powerhouses would also support their juniors to fight for such an opportunity. Take Song Wuyue of the Grey Cloud sect for example. It was not surprising that the Grey Cloud Monarch could get a map of the No Weave. He might even have more information than Night Sorrow. After all, the Grey Cloud Monarch was a powerhouse who had cultivated for countless years. Elder Xiang could not compare to him. Actually, it's a good thing that more people go to the area where the King Realm is. We can fish in troubled waters, Zhu Juyun said. You don't have to worry about that. There will definitely be a lot of people. Since we can get a map, I can analyze the approximate location. Some people can do the same. You have to know that some people have a higher starting point and strong backing. Not to mention their own strength, their support conditions are also much better than ours. Night Sorrow was stunned for a moment as he spoke. He then flew in another direction and smiled. He had seen a good treasure. There were many resources for cultivators to increase their chi cultivation. However, there were very few resources that could increase their soul power. Night Sorrow was happy because he had found some true daylily grass that could be used to refine soul power pills. The main ingredient was true daylily grass. There were even a few stalks that had reached the 10,000-year-old level. Night Sorrow carefully harvested a small piece of true daylily grass and put it into his storage ring. Good stuff. Zhu Juyin looked at Night Sorrow's serious expression and asked curiously. It's not just any good stuff. It's true daylily grass that can be used to refine soul power pills. The true daylily grass king can be used to refine spirit mending pills. As the name suggests, spirit mending pills can be used to make up for flaws in the soul. In other words, anyone who cultivates a soul avatar can make up for the flaws in their soul, Night Sorrow said. Ah, how miraculous. That's the most practical thing. Your wife hasn't cultivated a soul avatar yet. She can use it after cultivating it. Also, it's good that you have some as backup. Of course, I hope you never have to use them, Zhu Juyin said. Zhu Juyin said. She was truly happy for Yi Shang. If Yi Shang could get the limitless longevity fruit, it would be a fruitful trip. Actually, some resources don't necessarily need to be used by ourselves. They can be traded. For example, there are 10 longevity limitless pills in one furnace. If we lack other resources, we can take them to the auction house and exchange them for the resources we need. That way, we can support our rapid rise, Night Sorrow said. Life is more precious than anything else. You should keep the 10,000 longevity limitless pill for yourself. If the cultivation of the important people around you cannot increase, you can use it to increase their lifespan. Zhu Juyin said. She was speaking from the bottom of her heart. Due to her high aptitude for cultivation and her achievements in cultivation, her loved ones had all left her when they reached the end of their lifespans. As a result, she did not have any relatives left. I understand what you mean. However, I will definitely not be stingy if I can help you with anything that you need. Night Sorrow looked at Zhu Juyun and made a promise. Say. Chapter 995. I'm doing well now. I'm borrowing your space-time pagoda to cultivate, and I didn't give you any resources. This is the biggest help to me, Zhu Juyun said. She was watching Night Sorrow gain a lot. However, Zhu Juyun wasn't jealous because she knew that it had nothing to do with her. It was Night Sorrow's ability and opportunity. Regardless of whether she followed Night Sorrow or not, he would have gained so much. To put it bluntly, she was just here to watch the show and broaden her horizons. After checking that he didn't miss any true daylily grass, Night Sorrow continued to advance. However, he was very careful as he didn't dare to barge in recklessly. According to the map, he had already entered the area where the Vajra King was. Night Sorrow advanced for a few hundred miles. Looking at the sky, he brought Jujuyun into the space-time pagoda to rest. There's a feeling of fear and trepidation, but it's very exciting. Oh right, Night Sorrow, you said that even if something happened to you, the 9 regions origin bead would leave with your sage treasure. It's safe for my original body to enter your space-time pagoda. Otherwise, my original body wouldn't be safe either. Jujuyun thought of a new problem. If something really happened to Night Sorrow, it would be very difficult for her original body to return to the spatial barrier and enter the heaven mystic world. She might even be intercepted. That's true. Then your original body will follow the route we took and enter the space-time pagoda to cultivate. Night Sorrow thought for a moment and nodded. He also understood that if his clone died, it would be very difficult for Jujuyun to return safely. Everyone who came in was a wolf. They wouldn't dare to take a step forward when they saw a woman. It would be easy for a war to break out in the spatial barrier. 2 days later, Jujuyun's original body caught up and entered the 10th level of the space-time pagoda to cultivate. Night Sorrow and her clone weren't in the accelerated zone because Night Sorrow's cultivation had reached a bottleneck. There was no need to accelerate. After making arrangements for Jujuyun's original body, Night Sorrow led Jujuyun's clone forward. When it was noon, Night Sorrow's expression changed because he heard an earth-shattering roar. The roar was accompanied by an intense pressure. It was the pressure of the will of heaven and earth that belonged to the king realm. Yi Shang brought Jujuyun and quickly rushed forward 200 li, sensing that they were still 200 li away from the beast roar. Yi Shang brought Jujuyun into the space-time treasure pagoda. He then controlled the space-time treasure pagoda to fly. He wanted to see what was going on ahead. At the same time, he wanted to pay attention to his safety. At this moment, Night Sorrow's soul power was very strong and contained the power of law. Thus, he was able to control the space-time pagoda's speed. In half a cup of tea's time, Night Sorrow arrived at the location where the beast roar had come from. P-More, new PP is the fastest on. This was the Vajra King's lair, where the limitless longevity fruit tree was. The limitless longevity fruit tree was more than 3 meters in diameter. Its trunk was densely covered with veins and emitted a breathtaking energy halo. The limitless longevity fruit tree was very thick, but its leaves were not very dense. Night Sorrow saw more than 10 green fruits with red veins among the sparse leaves. They were the limitless longevity fruit. The limitless longevity fruit tree was Night Sorrow's target. However, this was not the most shocking thing. There was a battle going on. It was not exactly a battle. A few pinnacle saints were using a special array disc. It was a golden array disc that was dozens of meters in diameter. The array disc was suspended high in the air. Below the array disc was a 10-meter-tall azure ape with golden fur and glowing fur. Vajra King. Night Sorrow knew that the one trapped by the array disc was one of the 3 giants of the limitless region, the Vajra King. The ones controlling the array disc were 9 pinnacle saint kings. There were also 2 men watching from the side. While everyone's attention was on the Vajra King, Night Sorrow controlled the space-time pagoda to change its angle. It landed on the limitless longevity fruit tree. Since he could not force it, Night Sorrow had to find an opportunity. In addition, the limitless longevity fruit tree was not ripe yet. It could be picked, but its effect and medicinal efficacy would be reduced. In other words, 2 limitless longevity fruits could only display the effect of 1 ripe limitless longevity fruit. 6th Senior Brother, we can take the limitless longevity fruit and leave now. If this stalemate continues, our consumption will be great, a black-clothed man said. The black-clothed youth stood there, giving people the feeling that he was a black hole. The most peculiar thing was that he had 2 white eyebrows. Black Wind, remember you must always weigh the pros and cons. What's the loss of some saint spirit stones? Can it be compared to a ripe limitless longevity fruit? The value between an unripe limitless longevity fruit and a ripe limitless longevity fruit is not something that Saint Spirit stones can compare to. The man called Sixth Senior Brother said. This man wore a golden robe, and ripples spread out from his body in all directions. Black Wind understands. Sixth Senior Brother is the most experienced, the black-clothed man, Black Wind said. If the others want to come, then so be it. Let's see who is better. This time, we have borrowed Master's no beginning array disc. If we cannot get the limitless longevity fruit, then it is our fate. If others snatch it, then it means that we are inferior, the golden-clothed man said. Sixth Senior Brother is right. Whoever can snatch it is capable, Black Wind said with a smile. Night Sorrow, who was inside the space-time pagoda, looked at Jujuyun. It seems we have gone overboard this time. They said that the array disc is called No Beginning Array Disc. Could it be the disciple of No Beginning Sovereign? Jujuyun asked Night Sorrow. Yes. That is definitely a heaven-defying treasure. It can trap the king. The average king would not have such means, Night Sorrow said. Then what should we do? Should we leave empty-handed after entering a treasure mountain? Should we snatch it and run? Jujuyun said anxiously. No rush. They are waiting for the limitless longevity fruit to ripen. We will wait as well. Actually, their outlook on life is quite good. Let's see who is better. I like and admire such opponents. Night Sorrow approved of the black-clothed man and the golden-clothed man. That was the style of men. You can admire them if you like. The problem now is that we are no match for them. Getting the limitless longevity fruit is the most important thing. Jujuyun looked at Night Sorrow with disappointment. If she were in his shoes, she would have run after getting the limitless longevity fruit. She knew that Night Sorrow's speed was quite good. That's not necessarily true. Once my main body wakes up, I'll fight them. But the prerequisite is that I get the limitless longevity fruit first. Since I'm already here, the opportunity has nothing to do with others. If they have the ability, then kill me first. Night Sorrow spoke his thoughts. Those two are very strong. They must be half-step king. Jujuyun did not try to persuade Night Sorrow. She knew that respecting the strong and respecting oneself was Night Sorrow's philosophy. Persuading Night Sorrow to give up on that philosophy was unrealistic. That one called Black Wind comprehended the will of heaven and earth. It contains a bit of the spatial attribute, the will of heaven and earth. He is a half-step king. The strong one is the golden-clothed man. Night Sorrow had a rough understanding of the situation. Speak. Sixth Watch. Chapter 996. Night Sorrow felt that the golden-robed man's comprehension of the will of heaven and earth should be towards the fusion of the will of earth and lightning. The faint ripples contained two types of will, but they were both immature. Black Wind, why do I have a bad feeling about this? The golden-robed man said as he rubbed his forehead. What bad premonition? The Vajra sovereign king is being controlled by the servants we brought from the boundless mountain. As for the others, Sixth Senior Brother alone is enough for us to kill. I reckon that when the people from the Sky Dome realm see the famous sky-raising sage king, Chunbai, they will not have any intention of attacking. They will just turn around and leave. Heifeng said with a smile. There's always someone better out there. We can never be complacent and arrogant. It's hard to say where this bad feeling is coming from. I don't believe that anyone can snatch the limitless longevity fruit away from the two of us, Chunbai said. This guy seems to be very famous, Jujuyun said. The 9 Peak Sage Kings are actually servants. This No Beginning Sovereign is really powerful. Night Sorrow was also shocked. I know a little about this. The No Beginning Sovereign's boundless mountain only has 11 true disciples. However, there are some servants. These servants are all willing. They were all rescued by the No Beginning Sovereign or his disciples. It can be said that without the boundless mountain, they would not exist. Therefore, they are willing to be servants of the boundless mountain, Jujuyun said. I see. That's good. I don't want the famous No Beginning Sovereign to force others to do things. That would overturn my view of him, Night Sorrow said. Also, these servants have a chance to turn things around. As long as they enter the king's realm, they will officially join the boundless mountain. Currently, Among the 11 true disciples of Boundless Mountain, 3 of the kings are servants. Zhu Juyin explained to Night Sorrow. MMIC. Very good. Night Sorrow nodded. Although they were chatting, Night Sorrow had been paying attention to the outside. He found that everything was very stable outside. The 9 Pinnacle Saints were controlling the No Beginning formation disc, and had firmly controlled the King Kong King. Night Sorrow also understood that the disc array's control power was astonishing, but it had no offensive power. In other words, it could only control and not kill. Night Sorrow and Zhu Juyin rested while observing the situation outside. However, no matter what the situation was, Night Sorrow had an absolute advantage when it came to snatching the limitless longevity fruit. It could be said that both Shao Kong and the 9 regions origin bead could snatch them in an instant. Time continued to pass, and Chen Bai and Hei Feng would frequently send Saint Spirit Stones into the endless array disc. At the same time, there were also people who came endlessly. However, when they saw Chen Bai and Hei Feng, they retreated. Even the small team of peak stage Saint Kings did not stop, because Chen Bai and Hei Feng could destroy their strength. When people came, Chen Bai did not say anything. However, Hei Feng would chase them away. Hei Feng did not directly kill them. It was fine if they left, but if they did not leave, he would fight. It was that simple. Hei Feng's method of chasing people away was very unique. When people came, he would reach out and point into the distance. Then he would point at the long black blade on his shoulder. His meaning was clear. If they did not leave, he would use his blade. Chen Bai's gaze was fixed on the No Beginning formation disc. He did not pay attention to the people who came. Looks like these 2 fellows are also livestock in the Sky Dome realm. They are very intimidating, Zhu Juyin said. Strength. They are strong, Night Sorrow said. Then Night Sorrow saw Tsang Wuyue arrive with a small team. So it's Brother Chen and Brother Hei Feng. Tsang Wuyue did not leave like the others. Instead he spoke. Is there a problem? This is my and 6 senior brothers' territory. Do you want to leave or fight? Hei Feng tightened his grip on his blade. He knew Tsang Wuyue. Hei Feng, you don't have to be so domineering. If it were you, I wouldn't care. However, I admire Brother Chen very much. I won't steal anything. Can I just watch? Tsang Wuyue said. If you dare to play tricks, there will be no place for you in the Sky Dome realm. I, Chen Bai, will say this. I believe the Grey Cloud Sovereign will not interfere with the matters of the younger generation. Of course, it doesn't matter if he interferes. Chen Bai turned his head and glanced at Tsang Wuyue. Killing intent appeared on his originally calm face. Tsang Wuyue narrowed his eyes and did not say anything. He knew what Chen Bai meant. If it was a competition of the younger generation, the Grey Cloud sect would not be able to defeat the Boundless Mountain. If a King Realm expert participated, then the Boundless Mountain would have a King Realm expert. Not to mention, in the highest level competition, the Boundless Mountain would be stronger. Haha, maybe your big brother Tsang Wushang can fight. You really can't. Hei Feng laughed. Tsang Wuyue looked at Hei Feng, but did not say anything. Damn, he's like a grandson now. He's not a man at all. Why don't we just cut him off? Zhu Juyin cursed. She despised people like Tsang Wuyue the most. He's a half-step king. It's useless to cut him off. As long as he's alive, his body will be unharmed, Night Sorrow said with a smile. If he doesn't leave, it will be more difficult for you to get the fruit and run away, Zhu Juyin said. Well, maybe. Regardless, I'm definitely getting my fruit, Night Sorrow said. Time continued to slip away. More people came. They were either chased away by Hei Feng or had made a promise. Only then were they qualified to watch. A group of people also came from the profound sky world. The leader was a peak Saint King. He was not forced back by Hei Feng. The 2 of them fought. He was not a half-step king, but he was very strong. Although he did not have the will of the world, his sword techniques were very sharp. He was on par with Hei Feng. Hei Feng, come back. Profound Sky Sword Technique. Are you from the Profound Sky Dynasty? Chen Bai called out to Hei Feng. Profound Sky Dynasty Qianyu, said the man fighting Hei Feng. Why #head K hair /P This man looked only 27. He was dressed in white and was very handsome. Although he was facing Chunbai and Heifeng, his battle intent was high. Okay, recover. I, Chunbai, will fight you. If you win, my junior brother and I will leave, Chunbai said to Qianyu. He wanted to have a gentleman's battle. Sky Pillar Saint King, you're so bold. If I, Qianyu, lose, I'll leave. If I win, I'll bring people to help you guard this place. I want 1/3 of the limitless longevity fruit. You can take the rest, said Qianyu. Chunbai was bold, and so was Qianyu. Also, without Chunbai and Heifeng bringing people to trap the king, no one had a chance. Deal. Chunbai nodded. Qianyu recovered for 4 hours. When he reached his peak state, he nodded to Chunbai. Heifeng, pay attention, said Chunbai to Heifeng. With a wave of his hand, a sword appeared in his hand. Fighting with the Sky Pillar Saint is a great joy in life. Make your move. Qianyu nodded. There was no nervousness on his face. Instead, he was excited. It was the feeling of meeting a worthy opponent. Not bad. These are all men. At least they can make people look at them. Cowards like Song Wuyue are annoying, said Zhu Jiyun. Speak. Chapter 997. While Zhu Jiyun was speaking, Qianyu and Chunbai began fighting. The battle situation was just as Night Sorrow had expected. Chunbai was strong and had dabbled in the will of thunder. Be it defense or attack, they were both very strong. However, Qianyu was no weakling. He waved the long sword in his hand, one strike after another, forming a sword stance. The sword stance was continuous, stabilizing his weakness of not having a will of his own. That's right. Cultivators from large factions have extraordinary foundations. Yishang muttered in a low voice. The battle was in a stalemate, but Night Sorrow could see that Qianyu had no chance of winning. His attacks could not break through Chunbai's earth-space defense. In addition, Chunbai's sword technique with the support of thunder attribute was extremely strong. What's the result if you go up against any of them? Zhu Jiyun asked. She was concerned about Night Sorrow's situation against Chunbai and the others. It's alright. If we don't go up against each other, who knows the result? Night Sorrow said with a smile. Hearing you say that, I know. If you're not their match, you'll say it, Zhu Jiyun said. She knew Night Sorrow very well. If he could not, Night Sorrow would say it. If he did not say it was impossible, it meant that he had some confidence. After the battle went on for 15 minutes, Chunbai's offense suddenly changed. He used an earth attribute attack, which was gravity suppression. At this time, Qianyu's sword stance was not as smooth. With a flaw, he was no match for Chunbai, and was directly suppressed by Chunbai. In a moment, Chunbai's sword chi broke through Qianyu's defense and pierced through his chest. After injuring Qianyu, Chunbai did not continue to pursue. You may leave. Qianyu will remember your mercy. After saying this, Qianyu led his men and left. Is this the battle of gentlemen? Zhu Jiyun asked Night Sorrow. Yes, Chunbai has a great advantage, but he didn't go for the kill. Of course, he might have other concerns. After all, there is no need to kill a genius from a sovereign faction without enmity. Most importantly, Qianyu didn't show any hostility, Night Sorrow said. After defeating Qianyu, Chunbai meditated to recover. He did not consume a lot of energy, but in a place like the No Territory, it was very important to maintain his peak state at all times, because no one knew what would happen next. While Chunbai was meditating, Heifeng was extremely vigilant. His hand that was holding the battle blade loosened and tightened. He was ready to fight at any time. Night Sorrow then glanced at the limitless longevity fruit. The limitless fruit's ripening period was the most crucial moment. However, it seemed that Chunbai and senior brother Chunbai were in charge at the moment. Currently, the leaders here were Chunbai and Heifeng with their servants. There were also 2 other groups. One group was led by Tsang Wuyue, and the other group was led by a woman. However, they had all promised not to take the initiative to snatch the limitless longevity fruit. If not for this promise, Chunbai and Heifeng would not have allowed them to stay here. In addition, if Chunbai and senior brother Chunbai did not hold them back, King Vajra would sweep the others. Night Sorrow began to refine pills in the space-time pagoda. When he had nothing to do, he turned some materials into pills. In any case, his clone could not cultivate. Zhu Juyun helped Night Sorrow make a pot of tea or something. Her main body was cultivating, and her clone had nothing to do. In the blink of an eye, a few months had passed. Everyone was a little anxious because the one-year deadline was getting closer and closer, and the limitless longevity fruit had not ripened yet. Night Sorrow was also a little anxious because the one-year deadline was a limit for everyone. In the past, even if the people who came had obtained the limitless longevity fruit, it was still not ripe. However, the limitless longevity fruit in front of them was about to ripen. Who would be willing to take it raw? The profits would be reduced by a portion. At this time, the 9 domain sources told Night Sorrow that the limitless longevity fruit would ripen in about half a month. This made Night Sorrow heave a sigh of relief. Apart from this half a month, Night Sorrow still had more than half a month to hurry on the road. This time was enough. Although there was still time, Night Sorrow was still worried. He was worried that Chunbai and Heifeng would not be able to remain calm. If they wanted to harvest it in advance, Night Sorrow would have no choice but to act in advance. In fact, Heifeng was already unable to remain calm. 6 Senior Brother, we don't have much time. We only have 1 month. Why don't we just harvest it? Chunbai shook his head. Stay calm. I feel that it's almost time. We won't harvest it until the last moment. Hearing Chunbai's words, Night Sorrow heaved a sigh of relief. He was really afraid that Chunbai would decide to harvest it. If that happened, the loss would be huge, and it would be an unavoidable loss. Because once Chunbai decided to harvest it, Night Sorrow would have no choice but to harvest the unripe limitless longevity fruit in advance. The team led by Tsang Wuyue and the other team led by a woman were also standing firm. Although they did not say anything, they were also looking forward to the appearance of variables. If more experts came, or if Chunbai and Heifeng were in danger, they would have a chance to get a share of the profits. But in reality, they were disappointed. Because even if people came, if they were not scared off by Chunbai's name, they would be killed by Heifeng. Heifeng and Chunbai had completely different personalities. Heifeng would give you a chance, but if you did not leave, then you would be killed. 5 days later, Night Sorrow smiled. The aura on his body had also changed. His main body had awakened from seclusion, and his comprehension of the will of space had reached the entry level. He was now a half-step king like Chunbai, Heifeng and the others. You have comprehended? Zhu Juyun also felt the change in Night Sorrow. Yes, a half-step king. It won't be a problem for me to fight with them. Night Sorrow said. It's only been a few years, and you have actually entered the realm of a half-step king. Zhu Juyun was extremely shocked. A half-step king had already touched the threshold of the will of space. It was a completely different concept from a peak saint king who was completely clueless. Can you calm down and make a pot of tea to congratulate me? Night Sorrow glanced at Zhu Juyun, but he was glad that his main body had awakened from seclusion and had comprehended. He did not have to worry about the following battles. Even if he used the will of space to fight, it would not affect his main body's comprehension. What will of space? Zhu Juyun asked while making tea. The cutting will of space. It is a relatively shallow will of space, but it is suitable for fighting. Night Sorrow did not hide anything from Zhu Juyun. The two of them were partners, so there was no need to hide anything. High-level will of space. It is definitely invincible among those of the same level. That's enough. You will have a higher chance of winning. It can be said that you are completely confident. Zhu Juyun said. There are no absolutes in this world. If they release their control of the King Kong King, who will be able to get the limitless longevity fruit? Night Sorrow said as he looked at the trapped King Kong King through the time pagoda. Hehe. If they dare to release it, everyone will be in trouble. Zhu Juyun smiled. She also knew the situation outside. She knew that Chunbai and Heifeng had suffered a great loss. In these few months, they had used up a few hundred Saint Spirit Stones. Chapter 998. I've let them down. I've been a little petty. Let me think about it and see what's the best way to deal with this. Night Sorrow felt that if he didn't snatch it openly, it would be a little ungentlemanly. However, snatching it openly wouldn't go smoothly. After all, Chunbai and Heifeng, who were trapping the King Kong King, were in the lead. After thinking for a while, Night Sorrow still couldn't come up with a solution. He could only wait for the limitless longevity fruit to ripen. At this time, the limitless longevity fruit also changed. Energy flowed on it, and the red ripples seemed to be alive. This was a sign that it was about to ripen. At this time, Chunbai and Heifeng also moved. Everyone back off a bit. Otherwise, don't blame me for being impolite. Heifeng held his saber and turned around to look at everyone. This meant that if anyone moved recklessly, they would be seen as an enemy and would be attacked directly. You Wuhan, if you don't cause trouble, I Chunbai will owe you a favor. If you cause trouble, then you and I will die. Chunbai turned to look at the female leader of the team. Song Wuyue and the female leader of the other team, Yu Wuhan, both retreated a bit. One Heifeng was nothing, but if he joined forces with Chunbai, then no one could withstand it. If they angered Chunbai and Heifeng, then the 9 Peak Saint King servants would also make a move. It would also become a situation where one side would fight to the death. Song Wuyue and Yu Wuhan both understood the situation. They also understood that if they made a promise to Chunbai and Heifeng, then the limitless longevity domain wouldn't let the matter rest. They couldn't withstand the revenge. In a situation where they were in the wrong, their family elders couldn't interfere. The consequences of interfering would cause even greater trouble. Chunbai and Heifeng looked at the limitless longevity fruit tree, while the other looked at Song Wuyue and Yu Wuhan. Super Mini Good Novels Night Sorrow also knew that the final moment was coming. His soul power enveloped the limitless longevity tree. Communicate with the treasure spirit of the pagoda of time and space. Don't block my energy. This way, I'll take it all the instant the limitless longevity fruit ripens. The 9 regions origin energy appeared beside Night Sorrow. Normally speaking, if Night Sorrow were to suppress it, the 9 realms origin energy clones would not be able to leave the 9 realms origin bead. However, Night Sorrow had never deliberately done so. Night Sorrow called Shao Kong over and gave him some instructions. He then counted and found that there were 15 limitless longevity fruits on the limitless longevity tree. He took out 15 bottles and gave them to the 9 regions origin energy clone. After that, he focused his energy on Chunbai, Heifeng and the Diamond King. They were the variables that he needed to obtain the limitless longevity fruits and leave. At this moment, the Diamond King was extremely angry and irritable. It kept attacking the disc array that trapped it, but it still could not break free from the no-beginning disc array's control. It could not be blamed for being angry because the limitless longevity fruits were extremely important to it. It was a treasure that could increase one's cultivation and life level. However, the no-beginning disc array was firmly controlling it, so it was helpless. The Diamond King was unlucky to be controlled by the no-beginning disc array. It had lived for countless years, but due to the problem of its innate talent, it had always been at the level of a 3-star king. If it was a 4-star king or an intermediate king, the no-beginning disc array would not be able to suppress it. At this moment, time passed very slowly. The main reason was that everyone was very nervous and focused on the limitless longevity fruits. Night Sorrow also held the Space Splitter Spear in his hand because a battle could break out at any time. Chunbai and Heifeng were not to be trifled with. Song Wuyue and Yu Wuhan would not sit idly by when the time came. Don't be nervous. You will handle it well. Have a cup of tea first. Zhu Juyin poured a cup of tea for Night Sorrow and said, I am not nervous. I am excited. I want to fight with them. If I get the limitless longevity fruits this time, I will owe Chunbai and Heifeng a favor. Showing up will also be an explanation to them. Night Sorrow took a sip of tea and said, You won't run after getting the limitless longevity fruits? You still want to fight? Zhu Juyin stared blankly at Night Sorrow. I want to fight. If I want to leave, they can't stop me. I have comprehended the will of space. In terms of speed, they are probably not as fast as me. Night Sorrow said with a smile. And it's up to you. As long as you are confident. Zhu Juyin said. Night Sorrow drank a cup of tea and felt that it was not enough. He took out a jar of wine and drank while looking outside. After 2 days, the 9 regions origin body reminded Night Sorrow that the fruits were about to ripen. With the 9 regions origin body's reminder, Night Sorrow prepared for battle. Suddenly, the runes on the limitless longevity fruits on the limitless longevity tree froze and emitted a gentle light. The instant the runes stopped, Chunbai flew towards the limitless fruit tree. But at that moment, a swirl of energy appeared on the boundless fruit tree. Then more than a dozen 10,000 longevity boundless fruits disappeared. This happened in an instant. Chunbai did not even have the time to react. Naturally, the one who collected the limitless longevity fruits was the 9 regions origin body. Night Sorrow closed the jade bottles and stored them into his storage ring. He then nodded at the 9 regions origin body. If he were to pick the limitless longevity fruits himself, he would not be able to do it so quickly. If he were to be a little slower during the critical moment, he might be intercepted and variables would appear. Who is it? Come out! Chunbai roared. He knew that someone had beaten him to it. With a flash, Night Sorrow appeared outside the space-time pagoda. At the same time, he kept the pagoda back into his body. Who are you? Chunbai asked Night Sorrow. I'm Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow said his name. If you didn't come out, we wouldn't have been able to find you. Why did you come out? After Chunbai's anger subsided, he thought of another problem. Because you guys used the array disk to control the Diamond King. That's how I obtained the limitless longevity fruits. I feel that I have to give an explanation. Night Sorrow revealed his reason for coming out. Good. You're magnanimous enough. It's your ability that allowed you to obtain the limitless longevity fruits. However, since you've come out, we have to fight. If you win, you can leave. If you lose, you'll leave half of the limitless longevity fruits and you can leave too. Chunbai made his decision. No. Chunbai, I have nothing to say if the limitless longevity fruits are in your hands. However, it's not in his hands. He can't leave, Song Wuyue said. You piece of trash. If you were guarding the limitless longevity fruit tree, I would have left without a word. There's nothing to say to trash like you, let alone give an explanation. Chunbai, we'll talk about our matters later. Song Wuyue, come. We'll fight first. Last time you ran. Let's see if you can run this time. Night Sorrow's body flashed, and he charged towards Song Wuyue. Opponent. Night Sorrow respected him. However, Night Sorrow would kill low-quality trash. Song Wuyue brandished his sword and began fighting Night Sorrow. He felt that this was an opportunity. He could not do anything about the limitless longevity fruits in Chunbai's hands. However, he felt that he had a chance to get a share of the loot in Night Sorrow's hands. Yu Wuhan, you better not move. Heifeng looked at Yu Wuhan and said, You're tuning in to the Echoes of the Heart YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.